flow parking. So the teachers get there early, they get to park on asphalt. The other ones, they can park on some gravel. No difference over here with teacher parking in 6th grade for car riders drop off and pick up, with the exception of being as they'll have to come through the neighborhood now. There is a little space right here for teacher parking because all this will be open. But there again, that's still first come, first serve, and you can still walk out and get to the farm and that kind of stuff. This is phase one. All of this will change when we start knocking down the big buildings. But this is the initial plan going into school. Any questions?
So for clarity, the building 500 or the 500 building is where the auditorium is.
Yes, ma'am.
So just for the public to hear and to know, so building 500 is where the auditorium is. It's the one that we've had closed for at least 3 years.
Well, remember, you got the auditorium and you got the 500 building. They're actually two separate buildings.
Okay.
But it's the one it's the building that's right adjacent to it. So we did have some classrooms in there, band was in there, but those have been all relocated. That building will be coming down too.
Connected
but yes,
to that
the
hallway.
auditorium that's been closed, that'll be the first thing to come down. So yes. And then as Colonel mentioned, in 18 months, we're going to do this all over again. We're going to do the dry run. We're also working on a video for parents that will push out early. Once we figure out this is a plan that's going to work, we want to push that video out so they know this is the new traffic pattern, all that kind of stuff, so we're communicating with them as well.
Yes, so the final dry run will be on the 30th. We'll work out any kinks. We'll have Nabholz and Taggart there helping with this, but mainly to get the buses through. And then we all agree this works. Our comms department and Ms. Brooke Davis, she's already standing by to redo the map with arrows and insets so it can blow up and reduce, and all that will be on the website so everybody can see. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. Colonel, for the, is that the former main auditorium, and is that picking up the middle auditorium also?
Yes,
that
ma'am.
whole segment?
Yep, it's the
Okay.
big one and the little one,
Little one.
the whole thing.
So it won't basically affect the classrooms per se? In classrooms, sort of know where it stopped. Okay, I know
It's
you're gonna cut it off.
Right
Okay.
there and right there. That is correct.
All right, thank you.
But to your point, Ms. Williams, and there was a classroom in there that was going to have students, they've been relocated in different buildings so that instruction can still happen.
Okay.
Okay.
Good questions.
Parent pickup. I know I've picked up over there at the middle school, and we use those lanes that there's now cars in that south parking lot. Yeah. So that far one by the trees, all the parents would line up in there side by side to pick up kids. If it's going to be full of cars, how are we picking up kids?
No, man, so this is going to be full of cars. All of that is still open.
Yeah.
So they can still drive around that circle.
So that would be, just to clarify, that would be no change for a car rider. They're usually coming in.
Correct. For car riders on 7th, 8th, and 6th,
It's the
there's
perimeter.
no change.
So those two back rows, because I'm one of the pickups, so that I'm just visualizing. So when I pull in and I make that curve, there were cones, and we formed two lines. So we would still do the same thing. Form two
Yes, ma'am.
lines
Right.
And make that curve to pick them up at the front.
Yeah, that will not change.
That is correct.
That's
That is correct. The only thing that changes is where teachers used to be able to park over there. They can't. They're going to have to fill all this, and then when that's full, they go up there now. But the traffic pattern around that and around here remains the same. The only difference is for authorized vehicles who, can still come down here, and that's also, emergency services and that kind of stuff can still travel through there, but that will be blocked off unless we need something like that.
Gotcha. Good question, because I'm a pickup.
So we'll know more after our dry run.
On the-
Colonel, that's
on the
coming out,
30th.
Mr. Smith, yep. Are there any other questions thus far on our updates on construction? I do want to, if I can, I'll end with this. Part of our meeting that we had, about 3 hours with Taggart, was to get some clarity. But one of the things I really liked is they forced us to make a mission statement between the construction team and us, and they plan on putting up signs. All of their construction workers have to read the mission of why we're here every day, so it keeps everybody focused. So it's still in a draft but I thought this was pretty good. We are committed to the creation of a new, inclusive, and innovative middle school that fosters a safe, supportive, and engaging learning environment built to inspire generations for future-ready students. And remember, you just can't hide
I
that
knew
charging
I knew that
Wildcat.
had to be in there.
Okay, anything else?
Just as of today, the last little thing that couldn't make the slides is overall, when the final construction done, it's going to be around 160,000 square feet. And we are in the review process with Clark Construction for the contract for the sports complex. So that one's
Awesome.
moving along too, and right behind that's going to be Old Main.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's it,
Colonel,
sir.
thank you for, and then we'll have another construction update at our regular meeting if we have more to share on top of this. But if we don't, if it's okay, we won't, but it's always going to be a standing agenda as you've requested.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to 1.2, which is our budget workshop. So based upon the feedback from our board members last week, and specifically to dive into the buckets, that was the request of the board. But before we get started, I was wondering if we could first start with making sure that I'm clear and our staff is clear on what our priorities are. I think I know what your priorities are, but I want to make sure that we're all clear. The first priority that I heard from last week, I want to make sure everybody's clear, the board and as well as us would, if possible, would love to do at a minimum a bonus for all employees this year. Are we all on the same page with that? Okay. The second priority is the stipend conversation that we've been having, and is it the will of the board if we can do that this year? That's something that you would like to implement. If not, we definitely want to plan for next year.
Correct.
Do I got everybody good? Okay. Then the third priority is a raise for FY27, which we know that would be more than likely next year, but we're getting a really good start on it. And I believe that's a huge priority for all of us as well. Now, the next question would be, what kind of, just for planning purposes, is the board's wishes to start out with a minimum of a 2% raise, or a 3%, or a 4%, or you want us to look at all of those configurations? We've tallied up with Mr. Brown. If we were just doing a 2% raise for all employees, that'd be about $2.2 million. Do you want us to start there and maybe let you look at a 2% and a 3% to start, and then see what that number is, and then before we go diving into the couch cushions to look for nickels, it would be good to know what that number is we're trying to get to.
I kind of would like to see all. I kind of me, and I was gonna go around, but I would like to see all of them.
Okay.
All of the options. I
So-
want to be able to
Sure.
have an option
You got it.
and not just focus on 2%, 3%, whatever. I want to see what would a 4% look like.
Sure.
What would a 3% look?
Sure.
What would a 2?
We're all in
to
agreement,
be
for
able to
all
make it.
employees.
For all employees to be able to make a rash decision.
Sure.
Natalie?
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I just don't want that to, I don't want that to be a speed bump. I don't want to wait 16 months on this information because we've requested such a task. So I would like to see that, yes, but I don't want to wait 16 months on it.
So your position is a raise right now?
No, my
Okay.
position is I don't want to wait 16 months on the information that we're requesting.
She's saying don't ask so much information that it takes a long time to get it back.
Let me hit my translate button.
Thanks.
Miss Temple?
I'm going to ask for more information because we have talked about this repeatedly. We have some employees that are below where they should be,
Sure.
and So I'm saying we need to see what we can do to bring them up. And so maybe we don't want across the board raise, maybe we want to focus some. I want more information. I want it broken out on the ones that need to be brought up more to a market rate, the ones that we can't keep hired because we don't
So, ma'am,
pay
you want
enough.
basically two
High
different
needs
courses of
areas.
action, so
Yeah.
across the board and then targeted.
Yes.
Okay, we can do that.
And on the church budget, we had determined, I guess, even though I know cost of living is more than 3%, I guess COLA is showing 3%. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes, I'd like to have the idea that Ms. Temple was saying. I'd like to see them both.
Ms. Williams?
I would like to see both, but before, so we can have a clarity of this that I'm seeing that we're supposed to discuss. I would like to see where we are standing presently, financially, before we decide on any percent. Because basically, I would like to know the amount of savings that we saved in the reorganizational plan and what kind of monies we sitting here talking about giving, but I don't know where we stand financially and what we really can do. Thank you.
Anything else?
Can I
Sure.
throw in a suggestion, idea for us to look at is bringing back the attendance
Incentive?
and not make it where it's pending on your contract, you sign your contract. It'd be like it was when we first did it, whereas in if you didn't miss X amount of days from August to December, you got your bonus.
Similar that we did in COVID, where we had,
And
we
if you
worked on all
didn't-
that percentages.
And then from January to May, if you didn't miss X amount of days, you got your bonus. Not tinging on whether or not your contract is signed. And I say that because we're trying to retain,
Of course.
we're trying to entice and bring in, but yet more responsibility, no fault to anybody, I'm just saying, I'm just speaking my truth, more responsibility is being put on our staff, our teachers and all that. And they know we don't have the money for a raise.
Sure.
But to also, if we put anything like that in place to say, well, you got to stay with us or you won't get it, that's not an incentive.
I gotcha.
But it'd be more of an incentive. I'm going to work, this semester.
Sure.
I'm going to work because I need my check in December.
So just,
You know.
just so I'm clear, so even if we're thinking about this employee bonus, you want to tie it to an attendance?
It can't. I just want to see all the
Okay,
options.
sure.
I want to see
Sure.
all options.
Okay. Okay. All options.
Question. Mr. Brown, when we had that incentive before about if they came to work, in relation to what Dr. Redditt said, maybe you can give us some data as how effective that actually worked for us.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we keep adding exceptions to?
What
I
you
mean,
just-
it's like at first you could only miss this, and then you could also miss for this, and you could also, and we just kept adding exceptions to it. So it seemed like it grew for how many days you could miss.
What we found in the last time we did it data-wise is it was very expensive, but whenever we added the FMLA piece, which is the part you're talking about, we added that on the back end. What we figured out is statistically our employees got very good at taking FMLA. And so there was a great deal of uptick in regards to that to make sure that those days were covered, and so they would still receive the bonus. And so our FMLA during that period probably tripled, but I could have a conversation with Ms. Strickland about how those numbers increased during that time. And it was much easier during that time as well to get FMLA because of the nature of COVID and everything else.
So we've had a couple of different attendance incentives in the past. One was the one that was tied to our teacher retention and recruitment during COVID. But and I don't know if I'm mistaken or not, but I think you're referring to the one that was even prior to that, which was there was just a straight attendance incentive, and there were no exceptions in that policy. It was if you missed no days, you got X number of dollars. If you missed 1 to 2 days, you got this dollar. If you missed 3, if you missed more than 4, you got $0. And there was, back in the day, so that was back in like 2016, we had just that straight attendance incentive that was not tied to sick leave, FMLA, anything like that. It was a straight, if you were here, you got paid. If you were not, you didn't. And there were no exceptions. So were you referring to that
Correct.
first?
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Part-timers didn't get any money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
There's no point in doing that if you're gonna have exceptions for every reason they're off. There's
Yeah.
just, there's
Yeah.
no
The
point.
point's to be at work.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was my mindset.
I
The
can
point
bring
is for
some
you to be at
data
work.
on that. I can bring you some data and on that program. Yes.
That's great. I think we've got our clarity on what our bonus. Ms. Williams, you did ask a question about this budget as it relates to cost savings.
Yes, sir.
We did cover that in the last board workshop, but it's in the savings booklet and it's on page 9 at the end. And that's got that's 5 point, no.
It was 5.2 million?
It was about 5 million and some change, 5,030,817.27 to be exact. And then Mr. Brown has that broken down prior to reorg, after reorg, and then savings.
Okay.
Yep.
I remember that. And the reason I was asking the question, Dr. P, when we got this sheet today, I was wondering if we still needed some fundings or something. And I didn't know what with your organizational planning, was that enough to cover, the savings you were trying to get?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep.
So, next, you can move on.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Well, before you do, can you introduce?
Yeah, well, I'd be happy to introduce all three of them. First, joining us for the first time is Dr. Thomas Rogers, our Assistant Superintendent of Network A, and beside him, our colleague, Mr. Jacob Smith, Assistant Superintendent of Network B. And then beside him is Dr. Leanne Stoll, our Assistant Superintendent of Network Support Services. So we want to welcome them in their new roles to our board meeting. So welcome. A great staff meeting today. Yes, ma'am.
I have one more comment that will not be popular in the room, but I'm sorry. We have discussed this before about having administrative on their own salary schedule instead of with the license. Did we ever accomplish that? Was that
So-
ever done?
Right. Remember, we that was a topic I believe that Ms. Woncom had mentioned, and you remember when we were going through that, we did not come up with any suggestions. I think it was as we go in this next school year, and you're going to see it. It's in one of the buckets about looking at the number of days and contract days, reducing them by 5. The executive team, and kind of chunking out those salary schedules, because I think Ms. Woncom was the one that brought it up. There's like 35%, or if you're a director, it's 20%. I think this is the year to go digging into that as a measure for cost savings. The upside is that it's good that we're having this discussion right now as we go, even before we wrap up this school year, we start the next.
Okay. I know how hard everybody works, so this is not aimed at anybody, but we really need to do something for our teachers, and our highly paid staff, I feel like, could hold out a little bit longer on a raise. So that's just another option if they're on a separate salary schedule. So
Yeah, and matter of fact, when we go through the buckets, you'll see that it's there.
Okay.
I have other questions since this is just a workshop, Dr. Pileski.
Sure.
It's my concern, and I'm like Ms. Temple, no reflection on anyone, but I still had a problem where we could have done some savings for everybody we hire. We hire them for 245 days, and schools are really on in session for 190 days, but you consider those for summer school that you have, and that if you had a cut from 145 to 140, how much money would that save us? Because school is not in session for a full 12 months, and we could look at those positions very closely.
Sure.
And then, I don't know, when all of this was going on, they were talking about central staff offices, and I see we are hiring people continuously, but when we hire them, are we still looking at the 145 days when you don't really be working 145 days? That's something if you would really look at the savings, Mr. Brown, that's what I'm talking about. Is there, I know it would be a savings, I didn't add that much up, but since this is a workshop, would you give consideration of how much money there would be a savings? Because you know, and I know, that there are employees who do not work all of that time, and look like that's money we could look at. Say, I'm just being nice, I say, take 5 days
Yeah.
rather than 245, take 5. So we can give teachers something. We cannot consistently talking about giving raises, and we keep giving these people 245s continuously, when it's not, I don't think it's needed in every aspect. I know we have to have cuts, but let's cut where it's not really affecting people's jobs per se, because everybody right now is going through tough times. That's all I have to say on
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
Thank
Yep,
you.
and we have that,
That's in there.
we have that on the list for sure. And we can look at that savings and come back to that as well. If you remember, the first objective was the 5.2. That's where we had to get to be solvent, and we've got solvent, but we still have items on the list to consider for additional cost savings. And that's what, good segue, Mr. Brown. Can we have Mr. Kevin open that document? It'll say FY '26 savings plan. Mr. Johnson? Yep, there we go.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. So this is the document that we have reviewed a couple of times previously, and you all asked that we bring those back. If you'll notice just the layout here, the layout in the upper right-hand corner indicates the bucket that we're talking about. We had organized these savings ideas into different buckets, with bucket 1 being least impactful to employees and salaries and benefits. Bucket 2 was more impactful, and then bucket 3 is most impactful. So we have bucket 1, and if you'll recall, the green color coding indicated that that was an implementation by the superintendent was required, and then in yellow would be board required implementation. Those things are tied to policy. And then in bucket 2, all of those are coded yellow, so all would require board action. And then bucket 3 as well, those we would seek board approval on those. So just taking bucket 1, we can just go line by line, and we can cover those as quickly or as thoroughly as you would like to. We can address those. But the green are in implementation by Dr. Paluski, so we're reducing software costs for this year. We're also going to eliminate or reduce the adult food budgets. We're also planning to reduce electricity consumption. and then a minimum of 5% department budget reductions. Those are, yes, ma'am.
Just for clarity, what we're looking at implementation for the 26-27 year.
No, this.
Or right
Green
now.
is
The
now.
green in bucket one is
It would be-
implementation for 25,
Would be
26.
August. Okay.
Was
Yes.
that part of the 5 million?
Yes,
So that, we've already,
yes.
yeah,
the
we've already
green-
got this savings for, okay.
That's
Yes.
correct.
All right.
Okay.
And to answer Ms. Williams' question earlier about the reorganization plan, we had projected that the savings that we had earmarked in green and the reorganization plan would get us to the 5.1 million. And the net savings that we got to was 5.03 million. So that got us to where we needed to be.
Oh, so it wasn't a street conversation of saying we were $9 million, okay, in the whole.
Correct.
So that's very good if that's what's done. Well, while you're
So
on
the budget shortfall that we were looking at last year for this year was a $5 million budget deficit. So we have balanced that budget along with the green items here in bucket one and the reorganization plan that happened. Those items together get us to that, cover the 5 million we were looking for this year. The additional money, the additional 2 to 4 million that we talked about, if you all recall, it was just discussing our financial health in the district and being able to be in a position where we can invest annually in employee salary schedules. That's where we wanted to be. So obviously the more savings we can identify, that will allow us to redirect that to employee salary schedules. So the 5 million was minimum and required for this year, and we made that threshold. Then the additional above 5 million, whether we go 2 million additional, 3 or 4, just we're talking about our overall financial health and having room in the budget on an annual basis to contribute to employee salaries, to be able to do something every year.
Okay,
Okay,
so,
that's the next question. When we had this before, the green was something you felt that the superintendent could automatically do
Yes, ma'am.
because he has a choice, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
The only question I have with this, Dr. P, on this 5% department school operation budget, elementary schools, they don't get budgets anymore.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. They get budgets.
But they deduct, well, the reason I'm asking Dr. P is clarity, because some of the teachers were calling me saying that next year they wouldn't have, I don't know what the monies were spent for, but there could be no more celebrations, there could be no something. Could you really clear that up?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing is we've taken a hard stance on food. We spend a lot of food in this school district. That's an easy expense that we can absorb. What we've been able to do is rely on our partners in our community to help with that. So for an example, at our Leadership Institute, a financial institution, insurance companies, it's a great way for our partners to give back, and we've been able to do that. So that would be one example. The other thing you might be hearing too, what we talked about the last time, we just attended the state conference, it's still up in the air regarding Title, well, we know we're going to get Title I, but Title II, Title III, Title IV, everything is being under review, and so we're not sure what that picture is going to look like probably sometime until September.
That's correct.
Once that's what the information that we're getting. But schools have gone through their budgets as it relates to this school year.
And to provide additional information, what Dr. Paluski's talking about, the student celebrations or student, rewards. There's Title IV that funds our PBIS program. Those funds have been the funds that have been particularly used to fund those celebrations where they may go to a bowling alley, they may go to the zoo, they may go to a Travs baseball game as a reward for the PBI's program. Title IV is under review right
Okay.
now by the federal
Right.
government. It's one of them. If the feds do not fund Title IV, then obviously those dollars go away.
Okay,
And-
so really you all was thinking outside the box when you made this recommendation here. Because the only thing I was thinking about, I know elementary schools, we are, and so people can understand, we do care about our students. And
Oh,
we do
absolutely.
want them to have the very best.
Sure.
But I did not, if there was an issue taken away from the elementary schools, because, but you, and it's still, as you say, and I read just like you do, because we don't know where we are going with federal funding. So you just, because you put this out several months ago, so you were really thinking outside the box before then, Dr. P.
Well, thank you about that, Ms. Williams. And professional development, too. I mean, you know, we took a hard stance on that. When you get a chance to meet Ms. Robinson, I think you got a chance to meet Sarah Robinson, our new wraparound service coordinator. She's doing a lot of great work connecting with local businesses. So I'm very confident in those connections that our students aren't going to miss on a celebration or an incentive to be rewarded.
That's all I care about. I want the people to know that we do care
Absolutely.
about our students, and we do
100%.
want them the very best.
Yes.
Whatever we have to offer, but I
Yes.
don't want us to be sitting here taken away from things that really, if principals felt like they could use them, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But, so, as the word of our president over there says, we just have to be transparent to let them know.
Absolutely. And we'll communicate that at our Leadership Institute next week.
Okay, so just so that we're all on the same page, all of these green things that we're looking at here are in that 5 million that we've already saved, so they're done.
Yes.
It's the yellow things that the board said, we're not gonna touch benefits at this point. So
Correct.
that's still an option for us. We can
Yes.
get almost 1.3 million by doing something with, benefits.
That's correct. So in bucket one, there's six yellow items that you could look at and consider. The 6 yellow items are things that are not required and are above and beyond. And you can look at those and we can talk about those. You can, if additional information's needed, we can gather that. But, so the first item there is longevity payments. That is an incentive that's in place to reward longevity in the district. So our current policy says if you've been hired and been employed by the district for 15 years or longer, then upon your retirement with Arkansas teacher retirement, you can qualify for a cash payment of longevity, and it's a specific dollar amount times the number of years you've worked for the district. Again, that's not required, but that's a benefit that we currently pay.
That one, there are other options available. Now, I've looked across the board, school districts and just other industries, and nobody really does this. I'll just be honest. It's like a severance on top of leaving for retirement. Now, what a lot of different industries do is they'll do something. So for instance, in our leave policy, you can only bank so much leave. Well, you can extend that. We can change the policy just as a course of action. And instead of banking 30 days, you bank 45. And so the incentive is for the employee to stay, bank that money, or have quality of life. They want to take vacation, whatever, but it is at that point their decision. And they now have control of taking their leave at the end, being bought out or whatever, but now they're contributing through their effort and how much money they walk away when they leave the district and or retire. It's just not a free check. That happens in a lot of different places. And that's a way you can project funding on that, as opposed to anybody past 15 years that leaves or whatever. And that's a chunk of budget that just bites that you can't project, how much you think we're really going to spend that year. So there are other ways to actually get the same effect without just writing a check because you've been here for 15 years.
Is that something the board wishes for us to consider?
I think that's a great idea. It also contributes to less absenteeism because they're saving that money,
Exactly.
or those days in that bank.
Right.
My spill on that, being an educator and being in the North Rock School District and retired from the North Rock School District, my feel on that, if a person has worked all of their time, why wouldn't they be given the process of longevity pay? Number one, let me say this, Colonel Stanger, so you can understand. North Rock School District, the best thing we have going for us is our health care, longevity pay, the dental, and all of these things. The reason being, we don't pay what the other districts pay. But to come over here and get some of this, although that to me taken away from people. It's like we don't care about people anymore. That's my personal statement. And when you start taking and they don't make any money anyway in the North Rock School District, we can't even compete.
Man.
And then take away, I don't know how long those two teachers been in the district, sitting back there, but to take away something that you've actually been into, I can't, personally, I can't agree to taking anything from anybody if they're work, but I heard you say something. You say perhaps there are two optionals of something we can look at?
Ma'am, this is so you can get the course of action I put out there, and I'm just simply laying out options, okay?
Okay.
I have no emotional attachment to this at all. I'm just laying out business options for the board. You can get the same effect of longevity pay as you can if we change the policy and let people bank more leave as they go out through their career. Now they have a choice. Their choice is, I can use my leave and go on vacation or do there's quality of life stuff, or if I'm not a vacation guy or gal, I can now bank all that and I've got this pot of money as I'm going out the door. You get the exact same effect, but now it's on the individual employee. They have a choice. If just with longevity pay and food, very quick math, that's $250,000. $250,000 that could go into the pay raise bucket. I know where we're trying to, so I'm just helping Mr. Brown lay down these options for the board to make a decision, because I've heard the goal is to get a bonus this year and invest in salary schedules on the out years. Well, there's almost so much blood we can squeeze from this turnip, and we know future funding is getting cut. Teacher equalization pay by 28 is gone. That's the pay that the district was given to get teachers to $50,000 plus the $2,000 over the money after that. In 2028, the state came out this week and said that money's gone.
So if I can just jump in here, Colonel, I think this was what we were asked to do, but if you remember, we had this discussion on employee benefits, and your direction to me at that time was,
Yes.
do not eliminate any employee benefits. And you remember in the reorganization, that was one of your tasks for me as a parameter to work under. And so we're just doing what you're asking us to do, is we're coming back at it, and if that's the will of the board for everybody is,
Whatever.
let's not touch any of these, then by all means, but they would require your approval to make any changes.
You know, I don't know if this is backwards or not, Colonel Stanger, because you're talking, folk haven't gotten any raises yet, and then you're talking about cutting. You said this will go into effect, and if the board decided to go into effect, what year are you talking about? 26, 27, or something?
So
For these things in the yellow?
right. So what we're talking about is these are options that you have as the board, and I believe when we were going into this fiscal year, the discussion was, and the direction was, we're not going to touch employee benefits. We want to maintain our employee benefits for
That's what I
all
thought.
the reasons that you spoke about, Ms. Williams, that they haven't had raises and These are benefits. They're probably the best benefits in Central Arkansas. Probably something we need to publicize even more to attract folks. I mean, we could stop right here. I mean, if there's no other further discussion around employee benefits, I mean, we don't have to go through all of these, but we want to make you available that these are options when you think about reductions to get to changing the money somewhere else.
Okay.
Dr. Paluski, when we had this, I guess I'm asking the wrong question. Mr. Brown, when was the last time teachers actually had a raise in the North Rock School District?
It was in 2023.
3.
Do you want the one from LEARNS Act, or you want the one that we did on our own?
On our own.
Thank you for that clarification.
I think that was
Right.
2022.
2022 then.
Yep.
Uh-huh. And to me, well, anyway, I think when it's coming back to us, and I was looking at this, about in the yellow, we knew what the superintendent had the privilege of doing. But we're sitting here looking at cuts, and then people don't have the money, they automatically don't have anything. And then too, we as a board, we're in the same process as the government is. We don't know when we're gonna get anything. So I don't see trying to hurt people and take stuff away from them at this time until we can see some money coming from somewhere else.
I see this as the longevity payment. I see this as a long-term paycheck benefit instead of an immediate paycheck benefit. So when you go to Pulaski County Special School District or Little Rock School District, you're getting a higher salary because that's immediate money in your bank account right then and there. But your long-term benefits, as our health benefit, our long-term longevity payment, ours are better than theirs. But it depends on what you can afford. And that's what it comes down to, in my opinion. If you can afford $50,000 and live off of $50,000 and know that when you retire at, say, 62, 63, then you're good. That's great. But for those that need a little bit more, they're going elsewhere for that because they're not looking at long term. Yeah, they're not thinking about retirement. They're not thinking about 15 years down the road.
They're thinking about the electric bill next month.
Exactly. And that's fair. That's
I know they
100%
leave the
fair.
first time to get in.
Yeah,
No
that's
money.
100% fair.
Okay, this is something for to look at, right?
I
Go ahead.
apologize.
I just wanted to hear what else you were saying.
I wanted to ask, have we looked at overstaffing? Have we looked at that? Are we overstaffed in areas? Can
So-
we decrease some staff?
So
I
we've been-
don't,
Yeah, we work on that every day. For an example, going into this fiscal year, there were 25 positions that we did not fill. That money went directly towards the bottom line of the 5.1 million. We look at that staffing every single day, and we're making changes to it. And we'll get into probably one of the biggest ones is going to be in high school if we make the decision to go to one planning period every other day versus a day. That will, I think we'll get there. There's an estimated savings of 13 positions as we go through that process. That's in the neighborhood of about $750,000.
but that will be next school year,
That's correct.
not this school year.
Right, and
Correct. And that's
the
fine.
yeah, and the major reason for that, and that's great that we're doing this because the sooner we can make that decision, the fall is the time that we have to make that because we'll start building the next schedule come November and December at the high school. So we're going to have to know staff, this is what the projection is and the numbers, the courses, because teachers would have to be picking up another additional instruction period while they would be giving up that one planning period.
I do want to follow up, if you're okay. Dorothy, you good? I do want to follow up. We spoke about, and it's in the yellow bucket here, reduce health insurance contribution. And again, we spoke about our benefits, North Little Rock benefits, are the best. But if you go somewhere else, they're doing bare minimum, where we're going above and beyond. So again, that's just another star for us on our benefits.
Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, did I see something about the legislation coming down about benefits? And refresh my memory because I have slept.
It's the per pupil
So-
allocation increase, but
Increase.
Well, it's a per pupil allocation to 77 and some change now. It went to 8162. that stays steady for this year. Next year, what happens is the ADE pulls out medical insurance. So the premiums that they give us that we pay per student, out of that pot of money, basically next year we will no longer pay that bill. They'll withhold it from us, reduce our per pupil payment, and they'll pay that bill themselves.
Okay.
And we're out of we're out of the business of contributing to employees' health care that we do now at the standard that the state forces us to pay. Now, we pay extra, but they're just going to withhold it and give us less money per pupil because they withheld it themselves, and then they're going to manage that program.
So does that mean we lose the money or just somebody else is paying it?
We lose the money, and then they take that money. They don't give it to us up front.
Okay, I
So,
understand that part.
and then they pay that bill.
Okay, so it gets paid.
It gets paid. We just don't pay it, and they reduce our per pupil amount to pay that bill.
So we would get what's left.
We get what's left over.
At what rate?
Is
It's,
Don't know.
is the amount, I mean, we pay more of the teacher's insurance than the state requires.
okay, ma'am, so this
So are
is,
we gonna be able to continue to do that?
this is the
That's
state,
question.
so out of 8162, it drops down to, they're taking another $125 per student out, roughly. And it's just make the math easy, $8,000. That's what we would be getting. And we no longer pay into the state provided medical insurance for our employees. On top of that, we pay an extra, the district pays an extra 70. So if you want to look at it per pupil, take the 8,000, reduce another 70, and that's how much we totally pay into employee medical care. That remaining amount of money, if you want to look at it that way, so we're really making, what's that, 70, 78 and some change? So if we do that, we go from 77 to 78, we've gone up about $100 versus what you see today, which is 300 and something.
May I provide a point of clarity, Dr. Paluski?
Sure, and then Ms. Williams had a question.
Sure. So Ms. Williams and Ms. Wonkum both brought it up in their own way in their discussions whenever they were asking questions. I'd just like to remind the board and everybody in the room. So the new process in regards to LEARNs, any of these things we're looking at in regards to these buckets, if there is a policy associated with it, that would be a 26-27 effect unless the only caveat to that is if the LPPC and CPPC and their respective committees approved it to be an immediate change. So you remember how we used to have the staff vote and 50% had to approve a bonus or a change in policy for a mid-year change? Now that lies with the LPPC and the CPPC. So it doesn't mean the board could not take action, but it would be a forward action without those two committees' approval. And so that's just a reminder of the new process.
Good point.
Go ahead.
I just want to ask one question. I got a call from retiree Mr. Brown and Jacob. They were looking at this they said they had gotten, when we retired, we could get dental, and we also carried the insurance from the district along the case. And the question to me was, how would that affect them if we voted on something like that, of that nature?
Can you help me? I believe she's talking about how our retired teachers are still able to carry on the insurance. Would any of these changes have
Retired.
a sweeping effect with that?
We don't have anything on the list that would make a change of that nature. If it is available to them now,
Yes.
it would be available to them in the future under, there's nothing listed in a yellow box that would change that for a retiree. So it really, right now, it's up to the insurance company, whether they extend those benefits to retirees or not. We get, as an organization, we get group rates for insurance benefits here.
Right.
And when they retire and they remove themselves from the group, There are some insurance plans that the insurance companies will allow the retirees to continue to pay on their own and keep it. Or they may raise the rates a little bit, but allow them to keep it because they're not in the group anymore. But what we're proposing here would not change that at all. That's between the employee and the insurance company when they retire.
Thank you. I told them to get on the
Okay.
YouTube to find out the answer.
Yes.
Earlier it was mentioned about manning, staffing. How do we decide how many teachers we need per student? And is it something that we use that's nationwide or statewide? And how do we compare to other districts and how they use that same formula, if you will?
Yeah, so we're required by law to have class sizes, depends on the grade level, but pretty much that's at 25 students. There's another whole calculation. If you teach more than students, we have to have an additional pay, but we're bound by law by that, Mr. Taylor. So when we look at our staffing, we'll figure out how many kids are in a grade level, and we'll divide that by that number, which would be the minimum or the average class size. And then that's how we'll do our calculation, is determine how many students that we'll need. For an example, right now we have two schools, Boone Park, and I can't remember the other one, Ridge Road? Ridge Road. So right now what their staffing is showing is they both need an additional FTE. And so the reason I don't approve that now is because we'll watch enrollment up to and including the first 2 weeks of school, which is called the warm body count. And then as we see staffing across the district, and we've done this just about every year, if they know that they need additional staffing, but we might find another school, like a Glenview as an example, who's overstaffed in a teacher. We'll take that teacher and then we'll move it out of that school. We'll move it into another school so that we're not adding an additional staff member, but we're making sure we're implementing what the law requires as it relates to class size. And then the same thing we do at the high school. Secondary is a little bit different, but the same rule still applies as we look at all those numbers. We'll track that every day, really all the way up until October 1st when we get the enrollment numbers that we have to provide for federal funding.
So right now, that's the how do we look as far as staffing right now? Is that the only place that has a short FTE, or are there any that are over FTE?
So as we've done that with the high school, so we have another program that we call Cardonics, and that looks at staffing at the secondary level. We've reduced staff, I think is a lot at the high school level. Out of those 25 I just told you for the coming year, I'd have to go back and tell you which ones were high school, but we cut, I think, about 12 the following year out of the high school. So we've been chewing on that over each year. We will come when school starts. We'll come back with a whole entire enrollment, but we're looking at all those numbers right now because we know that that's going to fluctuate between now and the warm body count. That's another whole conversation as it relates to state funding. It's the first 2 weeks of school, so if you say that you're signed up to go to Boone Park Elementary School, we hold that seat for you up to 2 weeks, and then you have to actually show up, and then we'll count you towards our total enrollment. So we'll kind of see that over the first couple of weeks of school, a lot of movement happening in Central Arkansas, but by the second week, that staffing should kind of, what we know is kind of true enrollment numbers that will drive the staffing piece, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just still don't know how many over or how many under we are right now.
Over or under?
Staffing.
Yeah, I mean, we're, as far as the projections that we look at on a regular basis, our staffing looks pretty good, with the exception of 2 schools that are requesting. So they have more students right now than they have teachers. And so as we continue to look and make sure, as I gave that example, like a Glenview might not have the enrollment to support a staffing, and therefore they might be overstaffed. So we don't want to hire another teacher over here right now when we know staffing is going to fluctuate, and then therefore we would have overhired, which is what's that called, rather than use the staff that we have to make sure we're meeting the needs of the students. But I'd be happy to meet further individually, you want to dig into, we can look at all those enrollment. I'd be happy to sit down with you. We have that chart. Yeah.
Okay, I got several, but on staffing, is there a formula for staffing, like, how many people should be in the office and how many, nutrition food service? I mean, is it the same formula that's applied to, for this many kids in this building?
So we have, that was kind of I'll let him, but Mr. Smith had led that work on our, we call a staffing formula matrix.
Yes, ma'am. So we have a staffing formula matrix, and then we have the recommendations from the state. And so having the conversation and balancing what works for North Little Rock versus what the bare minimum is where your life lives, is the best way to say it. But there are guidelines from the state in regards to those types of things. For example, a school of less than 300 K through 12 would only require a half-time principal, no AP. So we would have 2 schools that would fall underneath that. So the recommendation from the state would be 1 principal split between those 2 schools.
And no assistant principals.
And no assistant principals. And there would be a lot of our schools that fall up under having no assistant principals by the guidelines of the state. I think we would all agree, based on our community and our needs, and I believe the recommendation from the superintendent, that's not really an option. And so us having those conversations and it doesn't mean we can't tighten up in some of the extra things as well, but those are not just on the teacher license side. There is aspects of classified and this and that, and so we made a push.
And all
We
that's being
have,
looked at.
On the classified side, it works similar, but where there's not, on the license side, there's a state law that says you'll do this. Classified side, they give recommendations.
yes.
A great example of that is for every 20,000 square feet, they recommend 1 custodian. Well, you have to apply a little common sense. We have a high school that's about 500,000 square feet, and probably 80,000 of that, easy, is empty space. Hallways, stairs. They don't have to be cleaned every day. So the recommendations, you can do the math and stick it in a spreadsheet, and if it all worked, you wouldn't have to have anybody do it. The computer would just spit out the answer, and you'd hire those numbers. But it's very unrealistic. You can compare, and we're looking at it right now. Well, we're outsourcing stuff to companies to fix HVAC, which HVAC right now is the coin of the realm. We've got some old stuff. We've got stuff breaking all the time, versus people that we actually have that are licensed to fix it. Well, it comes down to a budget number now. Is it cheaper to hire more than it is to outsource? We're looking at that right now. If it's cheaper to outsource than hire somebody, I'll follow the money. So those guidelines that they have are, by law, are driven from the state of Arkansas. On the classified side, they're nothing but recommendations that you can go by, but you still have to work that into your physical footprint and then the philosophy of how you want to run a school district.
And if you remember to that, we had talked about, I think we got 1 quote, but we didn't get back to it because we had a change in leadership, but looking at potentially outsourcing in custodial services, and could that save us money? The other example I want to give is dyslexia. We're required by law to have dyslexia and support students. The ratio, I believe, is 1 to 10. The thing is, we don't get any funding for dyslexia, even though we're required to have it. That comes out of ESA funding, if I'm not, the state category bucket to be able to do that. So sometimes we're mandated to do things, but we're not given the resources to do that, so we've got to make it work from within of what we have. It's a good question.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead.
I want to go back to the benefits. I would love to know if we changed from the longevity pay, if we did longevity at 15 years like they have now, but they do it more days, what that cost difference is. Is there going to be a cost difference? Because we're probably not going to save all that money if we're paying more days when people leave. So I don't know if there's some way to quantify that.
We can look for him, Ms. Temple. Sure.
That makes
What you're essentially doing is
Changing the way.
you're cost shifting it to the future. You absolutely are. Does it bend the cost curve? Don't know. But what you're doing, you're shifting it down. Instead of 15 years, it could be you're shifting it down to 28 years
I see
when
what you're saying.
somebody's going to retire.
Yeah.
if you want another way to save it, you could do something like, hey, longevity pay, not after 15, but as you retire. That maybe incentivize somebody to stay then. Now, here's your longevity pay. 15 years is 15 years, you know. So I'm just talking about essentially bending future cost curves so you can harvest money now as a course of action and give raises.
All right, I would just like to see what that number is. And I'd
Okay.
also like to know, can we get a clarity on how much the employees will be paying for insurance when the state takes over paying the insurance?
Thank you. That's what I was.
We will whenever they make the rules. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
And
so
then-
they look at that yearly. We don't have that number yet.
Okay, and also in this, and you may already have this, but like, let's see, on the eliminate hospital indemnity insurance, it's $275 a month, you know, 41,000 for the year. How many employees does that affect? Is that like,
That's the number in parentheses,
1,250.
1,250. In that middle column, in that description line, that's the number of employees
oh,
participating
okay,
in.
okay.
So the one above it,
Is
the health
920?
insurance, 920 employees.
Okay.
So that's
All
just
right.
about all of our employees. We're about,
Okay, all right, so
right,
almost everybody takes
1,300.
Well, and
those.
the difference is the, the health insurance, the district pays the additional $70 a month per employee that participates in health insurance. On the hospital indemnity line, that is district provided to all employees. They get that free just
Okay.
for working here.
Okay.
So we have 100% enrolled in that, where only the ones that are that are enrolled in health insurance get the additional $70 per month in that first item.
Okay, all right. Well, then the only other thing I want to say about benefits is I know we don't want to touch them, but we don't have to eliminate them completely. We could change the amount that we're funding. Instead of doing 70, maybe it's 65 or 60 or something. So,
And another option also is, which doesn't help in the short term, but it would help the district in the long term, is just to define a date that says, after you're hired on this date, this policy no longer applies. So it would essentially grandfather people in.
Right.
So you could pick a date. It could be July 1 of 2025, or it could be July 1 of 2020. If you're hired on or before that date, then this policy would apply to you. If you were hired after that date, then as long as you had continuous employment and were hired before that date, you'd still have the benefit of the policy. But new hires would come in knowing that they don't qualify for that. They'd make an
that'd probably be the only way to implement it.
Question. Mine is, if you go to the last page, Mr. Brown, on this, it already answered the question that I'd asked you.
Okay.
If you reduce the executive team contracts by 5 days, you get that amount in there. We just got this today, the reason I didn't see the complete wake up. And then reduce all 245 days contract to that. That's that. And reduce, well, I wouldn't touch them little folk who they not making no money anyway on them 195. And then eliminate holiday pay. What kind of holiday pay? I want you to explain to me about that. Who holiday? And then eliminate special ed teacher bonuses, 100 and 500,000. I compassion for special ed teachers, but that's something that the board would have to agree on. But I was just telling you, if we go looking at some cuts, I really like the cuts of these folk got these days that at 48,000, at 170,000. I would not contract. I wouldn't bother you, special ed teachers, Dr. Stoller. I don't know about the other board members, but I would seriously like to look at that in lieu of trying to touch anybody insurance, because we said in order to be effective in the North Rock School District, anywhere, you start at the head first, and then you go down. Now that's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
So the holiday pay, there's
Yeah.
nine holidays.
Okay.
So that was a policy prior, I think the board changed it
2013.
in 2013. The board changed the policy and eliminated holiday pay, but grandfathered in employees that were already in the program and receiving holiday pay.
Which is
Hol-
mostly custodians and maintenance
There are,
Transportation.
and transportation.
yes, there are several employees that continue to receive that, but it is 9 holidays throughout the year for which they don't work, but they receive pay. So that is
Some
Yeah.
employees, but not all employees.
not all, but some
Could we
employees.
have a breakdown on that when you come back?
Sure.
I just never knew we had that many days, and I didn't know there was no equity for everybody, but just a few. Okay, very good.
If I'm not mistaken, when we talked about it before, you had said that it primarily affects custodians, maintenance, and transportation.
And their leadership.
Yes, and I believe it's answered in our budget analysis question and answer document, that when we went through this the first time, there were questions like that. Which category of employees does it affect? How many? And I believe it's answered in that document, but I'll be glad to grab that, highlight it, and put it in your weekly board report as a reminder.
Hence the reason why we had said with the 245, we all agreed that we should do the eliminate 5 days, except for the custodians maintenance group.
Okay, so,
So on page 4, that's
Uh-huh.
already there.
The last page.
Hang on. No, hang on. On
Okay.
page 4, it
Yep.
says, just like what you said, reduce the executive team contracts by 5 days. That's what you spoke about, Dorothy.
Okay.
And then what Rochelle is referring to, again, is on page 4, and it's the second line item. Reduce all 245-day contracts by 5 days to include the executive team with the exception of the custodians and maintenance.
Right.
And so that's on page 4.
correct.
That's where I was.
You wanted to see it broke out if it was just exec team or those other ones that had 245 as well. Like there's some coaches that have 245, and that was why we got to the custodians is the ones that we didn't want to, because we know we want to increase their salary. We didn't want them to.
We didn't want to decrease
We didn't want to
them.
reduce their days.
Reduce their days by 5 days when we're trying to increase their salary.
I think we also discussed whether this was going to include the principals at each building.
Well, so our secondary principals are the only ones that are 245, so it would impact them as well.
Because I got feedback that we should not touch the principals' contract days.
Why?
I don't
What was
understand
the
reduce our
reason?
What was the
Any
rationale?
reason?
reduce
They
our
have
contract.
a lot of responsibility and a lot of things that they're doing in those days.
So if you think about, I'll just playing off Ms. McLean, I mean, 245, but most of our administrators came back this week, I believe. The assistant principals came back, the elementary principals, but the 245, it would just reduce 5 days. I mean, it's a shorter summer than what we've had, but we can do it.
Well, I believe whenever I was here discussing, I think the most natural thing that other districts do that work on a 240, whether it be principals, executive staff, whatever, they do get a full Christmas break and a full Thanksgiving break. So that would be probably the natural fit for everybody, is that's what we would attempt to do for everybody.
So we would just close the district rather than, we'd have 3 days that most of us take vacation anyways. We would just close the district on those days and.
Well, with the exception if we're not going to touch custodial and things like that, those individuals would still be working, but
Gotcha.
it would just take a little.
We'd have to determine who would be in
Correct.
charge of the district while they're here, but,
So my feedback from that was that teachers say that was a good idea. That, again, we're starting from the top, and the principals, so by leading, they lose 5 days of their contract. But then also, teachers also came back and said the executive team should lose the 5 days as well. Hang on, I see you. And then with that being said, we have talked about in the past, we have, on this certified salary schedule, breaking out, and you spoke on this briefly a while ago, the administrator index, because that index on the steps and the ranges, like the assistant superintendent, and I'm looking at you three new hired, love you, mean it, the executive director and the director, that percentage. And then I know I have stated this, over the next 2-3 years, we can phase that out. But I'm looking at savings, and it starts at the top, Dorothy, as you just stated. So starting at the top, I think we should add that to our little buckets, but I don't see that on the list here on our buckets.
Ms. Wonkum, some of that has changed as well. There are now no longer any executive directors on the licensed side of the house. The only director that, without looking, Brian would have to help me, but the only director that exists is Coach Ballon.
So Coach,
Child nutrition's on there. Oh, you mean on the license?
On the licensed side, we still have administrative directors, which would be the equivalent, but that is a much different salary schedule and things of that nature.
Right,
And
and
so-
we'd also have to look, because we might have a coordinator, they're on exec team, but they're on the classified side. They'd be taking a bigger hit. So I think, and I do agree with you, and I think what we will do going into this year is we'll go look at all those indexes, and I think the smart thing to do would be to look at what are indexes around us as well. Because I wasn't sure if you were like, look at reducing the number versus eliminating it. Because I think to be fair in the work, I think we should come and show you what the other indexes are.
I could be wrong, but the way that I took it through the conversations, by separating it, let's say we want to give a 3% raise to staff. We can give this bucket, which would be classified, they'd get 3%. The teachers is under under certified, they get 3%. But we may not want to give it to the exec team.
Okay, ma'am, what we're gonna, I understand. What we're gonna do
But
is.
right now, the way it is, once we say it, everybody is under
Right, so
one,
we
one-
actually.
one number.
We actually had a meeting this morning and realized that that causes that exact issue. So by next year, we are separating out in a grid based off the classification of the person that the classification of the employee is about number of days. Well, 190, that's almost universally teachers. That one's built. We have the other ones built for, let's say, 195, 217, 223, 245. We're going to go down that and have each one and then publish that. So if the board wants to, at that point, and we can do an executive one, whatever level we cut that at, you could sit there and the board could say, sure, we're going to do raises for everybody but this one, whatever that one is.
That was my
That-
reason, that was just my rationale.
That is.
And I thought that while we were saying to pull the executives off the,
That is actually common in other government entities. It doesn't exist here yet, but we're going to have those grids per, I would say, class of employee, so the employee can look at it and say, okay, that's how much I'm making, and I don't have to do some kind of magic math to figure out on my compensation. And then the board can look at them, and you can make those strategic management decisions, and it's just clear across the board.
okay, can I follow up? Jacob, did you just say, so we have removed the executive directors off of, say that again?
On the license.
Yes, ma'am. So my previous position was the last executive director position that existed on the licensed side of the house. And that has been posted as an administrative director on the classified side of the house.
Okay, so when I'm looking at, on our website, under HR, and it says 24-25 certified salary schedule, the executive director at 33% of the range and step, that is no longer there.
Well, so
It's on the
we did
salary
not,
schedule.
it's on the salary schedule,
No
but we
one
have
has that
nobody filling
position.
the position.
There's nobody getting that, but it's on the schedule, but no person exists that's getting paid that.
Okay, so what about director at 27%? We have people,
One,
Doing
On
that.
the license, yeah.
one, Coach Ballon.
one, okay. No names. No names.
well, if
I
we're not
apologize.
filling the position, why do we still have it there?
We have
Well-
an
No, I'll just go ahead.
Well, so my point is, do we need to correct policy moving forward if we need to remove this? And even though we don't have anyone feeling it right now, we want to remove it, is from what I'm understanding of the board from last few conversations. So that needs to be done now when no one is in that slot.
So if the board will entertain me for just a second, the last reorganization we went through, we never had an assistant superintendent since Dr. McGee. And we reorganized into a model that had assistant superintendents. If we would have removed that 45% from the salary schedule, the reorganization, I mean, the process of communicating everything else, but there still would have had to been the process of approving that and getting that changed. And so that is the rationale for keeping those pieces there, with the understanding from Dr. Paluski that he's gonna bring any position, any conversation to the board that would be different than what our current model is. And
But
so,
that's,
We have the ability this year, ma'am, to fix all that and get it in a logical format, starting the next school year, the next contract cycle. So we need this year to do all that, present it to the board votes on it, accepts, and make it much clearer for board decisions and employee decisions. If they want to apply for a different job, they can look at the grid and like, okay, that's what it'll be. It's hard to do that right now, and just make all that much more transparent. Right now, we couldn't have got, like Mr. Smith said, the reorganization and then immediately done that, because we were, I'll be honest, trying to wait for some of the dust to settle. I mean, we knew 5.1 was the target. We've hit that target. Here we are now in the next iteration of this process of I'd call it transformation at that point. This is going to be an ongoing thing until the start of next year. We knew this year was going to kind of be a big bridge year to get to the final one. Next year, we'll also get to look over the edge of the cliff to see what happens when teacher equalization pay goes away. We'll know about federal funding. We'll have what we're projecting now will be facts.
We'll have some answers.
Yeah.
Oh,
so what I'm hearing is that this is being worked on right now.
Yes, ma'am.
And what is the timeline? You said before the 26th school year, so does that mean we board members will have something in front of us, say by December 25th, in order
Correct.
to make
So-
these
I don't want to
decisions?
say exact date, but
December.
yes, but
It's
the.
got to,
I'm just
we-
throwing something out there.
So you're correct, and this is a really good thing that we're having these discussions now, and we're not having them in December. Because remember, everything gets built off the calendar.
Exactly.
So the calendar usually is the first thing that goes, and then that goes to how many days by contract. So we want to continue to keep working on this, so you're having this in September and October where, you're looking at executive directors, I'm making that up, in Central Arkansas. What's Little Rock pay? What are all these other school districts? So we can compare ourselves to see what is that percentage, and then we can look at reduction in those percentages as one cost-saving measure, for sure.
Is
Ms.
it
McLean?
possible for us to wipe off, erase, delete the things off of these lists that now we've come around this about 3 times? We're rehashing things that we already discussed. We know there's certain things that we're not going to do, and those don't need to be showing up on the list. So let's take those things off of these lists.
Out of sight, out of mind.
There you go. And the other thing is, some of these items, like, for example, the reduced days and those kind of things, we've talked about those things too, but maybe we need somebody to present something solid and we say, okay, this looks good, or no, we need to do this or that, and then make a decision on it right then so that we don't continue to rehash that again at our next meetings. The other things we haven't talked about are stipends. And those are sitting, they've been with us. We've been talking stipends all this year and probably some of last year. A
Bear
lot
down.
of work has gone into all of those charts that we have seen. So we need to talk about those. And then to me, the bottom line here is how, if we want to do, let's say we want to do stipends, we want to do a raise, we want to do a bonus, how much do each of those categories cost us? And then we have a number that we say, well, we need to reduce to get this number. Can we do that? Can we do it this year? Can we not do it this year? Can we change what's in the bonus? If we decide we want to give a bonus, maybe we need to have a little less bonus, and we can reach that for this year. That's what I'd like to see.
Well, I want to say, Ms. McLean, that's exactly how we started this whole budget workshop. We went through the priorities. We talked about the bonus. We talked about the stipend. We talked about raises. The board wants to see what's a 2%, 3%, 4%. That was a great summary of not being here, but being here.
Because we just have been rehashing a lot of things, and I think that we kind of know what we don't want on this list anymore. So that takes this number that we're seeing on these lists way down. And then that gives us more into reality of what is possible for us to reduce.
So to your point, we're in bucket one. So,
Dr. Paluski,
oh yes, I'm sorry, ma'am.
which bucket one are you on?
Bucket one is the one that basically it's all about the benefits. And
We can skip that. I'm not taking anything from anybody as poor and broke. Let's get outside the box for a moment. You know what the federal government is looking like. We on a hold, they're on a hold. We have to be on the hold because they're holding us.
yes,
So
ma'am.
let's be a little rational. I don't see myself taking any benefits as far as health, dental, or anything from anybody.
No, ma'am. I just wanted to summarize and say to Ms.
All right.
McLean's point, the only thing I heard that you even wanted to entertain on employee benefits was Ms. Temple asked about the longevity pay versus more days. That is the only thing I heard in the discussion that she wanted. So with that, if everybody agrees to that, we'll wipe everything off this bucket that has to do with benefits except that, so she gets the information she needs. Is that fair? So we don't have to keep coming back to benefits?
Yes.
Is that-
Let's go around. Ms. Williams, is that okay with you?
It's okay as long as they don't bring back anything that's anything that's dealing with medical or anything. I will discuss the others, but don't even bring that to me, because I don't want to see it, because right now, everybody needs their dental, their health, everything. And longevity pay, that's something we can discuss, because Colonel Stinger, you said about the option, but I don't even know if that's what teachers want. And then too, Colonel Stinger, while you doing that, I really would like to hear from the teachers of what, I wouldn't say teachers, but employees, what is their feeling about the longevity and with the two options that you have? That would be rather than us trying to decide, because we are not working. Nobody works for the district.
Yeah.
Maybe
So,
if you could bring
not to-
that.
Yep, not to
Mr.
keep going down this road. I hear you, Ms. Williams. If everybody, we will take all the benefits
I was finna
off.
go, I was finna
Hold the.
poll, yes.
figured.
Yes. Okay, I'm okay.
All right, okay.
We
Mr.
can
Taylor?
close out if you want to.
Mis-
No.
Oh, Mr. Taylor, how do
Yes.
you feel about bucket one
Uh,
and the benefits?
Let's don't talk about the benefits.
Okay. Ms. McLean,
No, yeah, we're not touching benefits.
Ms.
I'm okay with that, but I would like to see, I
Yes.
think that's a very practical.
Yes, we'll
And I'd
go
like
do
to
our
see that.
homework, and that's the only one that I'm hearing so far off this list you want us to bring back.
Ms. Wonka?
I agree, concur exactly what Dr. P just said. We're not touching employee benefits. The vision stays, the dental stays, the health insurance stays. We're gonna have a discussion
Right.
about longevity, and that's it. That's where the buck stops.
Mr.
Ditto.
Brown, while we have a break or something, can you go back and take those out? And will the number magically recalculate
You have a lot
for
of
the bottom
Excel
line?
spreadsheets.
On my live Excel, it will. It wouldn't in this PDF.
But then could you send it to us? Is it something you can do if we take a break?
I don't think we need to, because we've just
Because then we
eliminated all.
just
then
eliminated
it
It's all
gets rid of
eliminated.
a lot of stuff that
But
we're looking at.
bucket one is done.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's done. You don't have to do anything. I
We didn't even gotta
you
look at
just
bucket
go on
one
to
no
I
the
more.
could,
next
I
sheet.
could
Okay.
do it, I could remove that and, link it into your weekly board report.
That's fine.
The revised documents for you all to look at. I could do that.
I'm not eliminating.
Well,
Oh, were you going around the room,
I
Madam
don't see-
President?
Yes, you.
I don't know what
Madam
y'all
Chair.
are calling bucket one.
We
but
did.
I
Were you
mean, I'm
going around the
seeing-
room?
We just did.
This is where
No, I don't know, Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, he did.
We
Right after-
said,
You didn't call on me.
yes,
Yeah,
you
yes,
did.
I
The
did,
things in
ma'am.
green are
You just,
gone.
what you do, mumble?
Okay.
have been done in the yellow.
No, ma'am, I did not.
Now we're eliminating.
I was on my job, yes, ma'am.
I do have a question, though.
Yes.
Bucket one,
Yes,
it goes through pages 1 through
3.
Yes.
3.
See bucket two right here.
And then you should see a total, sir, at 2.7.
Up in the right-hand corner, say bucket two.
3. Okay,
You see
I'm
it?
good now.
And then bucket three up in the right-hand corner.
I'm good now, yeah.
Okay.
All except before we just say eliminate, that we're done with bucket one, there is one line.
Correct.
That says eliminate tuition reimbursement.
Oh.
That's in bucket one.
What is that?
So
If
The
a
Page
teacher
3,
goes back to,
and it's the last yellow, I'm sorry, Valerie. Page 3, it's the last
That's
yellow
true.
before the numbers get crunched.
true.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Valerie, sorry.
Okay, where's that?
That
just
is
if a
true.
teacher goes back to graduate school and they want,
Speak.
they can get reimbursement for the
Yes.
cost for the hours they take.
There's a district policy that says we will invest what is the equivalent of our starting teacher salary on our salary schedule in tuition reimbursement. So our starting teacher salary with the LEARNS Act was increased to $50,000.
Okay.
It's not a requirement that the district do that, but it is a benefit that the district offers. So when we were putting together the list, you all asked for us to bring things that were not
Right.
required, but were above and beyond. Well, that's one thing that's above and beyond.
Okay, so my follow-up to that would be how many partake in that benefit?
Right,
And then, because we're not touching employee benefits,
right.
I would be open to eliminating and having a policy change regarding this. It's the will of
I
the board.
agree.
I would like to know
agree.
more about it. Transparency.
We'll
To
be
know
happy to-
exactly what we're spending.
Yeah. and I
Because we
bel-
offer that, and I think it's wonderful, and it's a
Yes.
great incentive, but are we actually utilizing it?
Yeah, and we'll bring that back and we'll run those numbers. And I do believe that it's on a first come, first served basis.
So Ms. Reddix it used to be, that is very accurate, but what Ms. Reddix has done, and now Ms. Susie's kind of helping with that piece out of my office, is basically they try to distribute, so the committee breaks it up into equal amounts based on what's allocated, and so they do the calculation. It's based off of the hourly rate set by the University of Arkansas, is what it says in the policy. And so if you've taken this many hours, they come to a magic number, everybody gets $900 in the fall semester that applied, or $700, or whatever the value is.
Yeah. We'll run those numbers for you. Just in my own personal opinion, is being an advocate for teachers, it is a benefit, but let's remember the other side is the cost of tuition isn't going down. It's going up.
True.
And that's coming out of that individual's pocket. But I also think I like Ms. Williams' idea on the other one is we should talk to our teachers about who's using it and what do they feel about that benefit.
Right. They need to discuss that, because it's two things I want them to discuss. That's longevity, and it was
Tuition
another one you all
reimbursement.
just mentioned over there.
The eliminate the tuition reimbursement.
Uh-huh. And
Okay.
another one, now, when you all heard me talk about eliminate special ed teacher bonus, reason I can't do that, it's hard for us to get special ed teachers, period. And right now, we need some special education teachers. So maybe if this $1,500 would entice them to come to the district, I would appreciate it because right now we still need 6 special education teachers.
Is that in bucket
I
one,
have a,
or is it bucket two?
there's some
That's in
bucket two.
bucket two.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear
Before
on
we go to
one.
bucket two, I just do have a question on the tuition reimbursement. Are taxes and all that taken out of that? Or do they get, let's just say, I do better with figures. Let's just say everybody's gonna get $600. Do they get the 600
They-
or do they get
550.
$495?
They are reimbursed for the amount that is associated with tuition.
Okay.
Their dues and fees are not factored into that, but it is post-tax money that you are using to pay that tuition, and so they receive the full
So you would get
reimbursement.
that full reimbursement, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Bucket two?
Just
Be-
ask,
before we go
do
to
you want to take a
bucket two,
break for?
That's
5?
what I was about to say.
Okay.
Before we go to bucket two, can we take a
Yeah,
5-minute break?
That's a good
Can
place.
we, let's, before we do this, wrap up bucket one?
Yep.
We're keeping 2 items on bucket one now, is that correct? We're
Just-
looking at longevity and we're looking at,
We're
Uh,
not necessarily
tuition.
keeping them. We want more
just get-
information
we're
about
still-
them.
but- so they still
Yes.
stay on the list? then?
Correct.
Everything else goes?
So everything else is going to
Right.
come off, so next time we look at bucket one, it's only going to have longevity and tuition. That's it.
Okay.
And then wherever we are, we'll make a decision on that, and then we'll move on. Doc, do you want a 10-minute? What is your?
10-minute break.
Okay.
And you're gonna reduce executive pay back?
I know we're off air,
Not yet.
Hang on, make sure.
Okay.
Leanne, do you
Okay. We're back. We're back from our break, and we're ready to start tackling bucket 2.
Okay.
But before we do that, I just want to let those others know we were talking about the stipends, and I was informed that the committee will be presenting to us at the August board meeting on stipends.
On Ms. Stabenow, the license?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So we'll go into bucket 2, although we've kind of talked about some of the things in bucket 2. And so 2 things automatically coming from bucket 2. One is to look at the reduction of executive team and any other, well, all those reduce all 245-day contracts by 5 days to include executive team, but we'll make sure we exempt the other areas. That's what I heard from the board, correct? In bucket 2?
Yes, agreed. But I do have a question regarding that. Can we add the custodians and maintenance back in and look at the difference in that number of savings?
Well, we can do whatever you want, sure. If you want to look at everybody that's in 245, and then we can break it down by category.
Okay,
How about
let's do it
that?
that way. Yep.
We would exempt them, we wouldn't take their days from them, if that's what you're saying.
Yes, I want to see a comparison if we did not touch it versus if we did touch it.
Oh, okay.
So that would be all, Mr. Brown, I'm making notes too, that'll be all 245-day contracts regardless, reduction by 5 days, and then we'll break them out by category to determine the overall, so they can see by job unit or department how much it would be for that department if they were to be reduced.
And timeline, I work better with timelines as far as when we would need to make the decision and when it would go into effect.
So we would like the board to make any contract decisions by December,
Okay.
so that when we start building a calendar, building job classes, working on next year contracts to be built and sent out to employees in January, we would have a decision. So December regular board meeting would be like,
Yeah, but before the winter holiday would be a
Yes.
target.
yes, we could do it any time before then, but by that December regular
That would be
meeting.
the cutoff day.
Yes.
Yes.
Otherwise, it could delay the production of contracts in the spring.
Which we want to
If
get them
we-
out even sooner
which
than
wanna
what we
get
did
those
this
out as
year.
soon as possible.
When do you think we can have new salary schedules? When can we have those truly looked at? Do you think they can be done before then?
Yes, I was talking with Dr. Paluski and Colonel Stanger about that recently. What I would do, I'd like to do, is just start working on cost projections and having scenarios ready for us to discuss. But I would like to wait until we do the final close on the 25 books, which we've done an interim close, June 30th. The final close happens on August the 31st. There's what we call a period 13 in school finance, where we're required to, so we've accounted for all revenue for fiscal year 25, but there are invoices that we pay in this year. So since July 1, we've begun paying bills, but it's for things that were purchased and bought last year. We're just now getting invoices. Audit requires us to keep our books open through the end of August, and anything we get through August 31st gets accrued. That expense gets paid this year, but it gets accrued back to last year and gets put on the book as a last year expense. So the dust settles on August the 31st on fiscal year 25. Then we'll know how much are we transferring to our building fund. We can back out one-time money, which we know the refinance of bond savings is one-time money. We know that declining enrollment funding is one-time money. We back all that out and we see what was basically the room in our budget to work with for future salary investments. So we can start working on those projections now. I don't need that final number just to work on projections, and then have the projections ready when we close our books. So when we do our budget workshop in September, that would be the time to start looking at and talking about what are options going forward. And then we would like a decision on that, any type of change, by that December board meeting, so that we would have all salary changes going forward to work on next year contracts in the spring.
And Mr. Brown, correct me if I'm wrong, but that same applies for if we were going to do a one-time bonus right now, you really want to close that out by the end of August 1st to see where we are to be able to go.
Yeah, so the bonus has a little different timeline. I still want to close the books August the 31st to calculate that room that we have in the budget, because the same money we're talking about, same room in the budget that would be funding future salary increases for fiscal year 27 and beyond would be used in, consideration of how much can we afford in this fiscal year, because that's going to affect how much we transfer to the building fund for savings for the construction project. So, but in order to pay that, if you all wanted to pay that, say in December, we would need to know, like by October, a decision on that, so we can get that in the works and get that prepped for payroll so it could be paid in December.
So would it be fair to say that
September
At
would
the-
be a big month.
in September, we would be making a decision for the one-time bonus,
And starting discussions on,
discussing the charge that we've already given as far as the line items that we're continually to discuss. Bring all those back with those numbers and all that, and we would discuss that as well
yes,
and decide in September
yes.
for all of that. But will we have the information before then to be thinking about it versus
Yes,
the week
I mean,
before?
as we perform the calculations.
Like on the
the-
longevity, let's say you get that finished tomorrow, then we can all have it on Monday.
Sure,
We don't have to wait for each.
yes,
We can get each one as you complete them.
sure.
Gotcha.
What about a timeline for stipends? If
Yeah,
we
I
were
was just gonna
deciding.
I think that's in the same, is that in the same, I would think,
Mhm.
Brian?
Yes,
If we
so
could do it
let's
this
just-
year?
Yes, so the goal here is to get fiscal year 25 closed.
See where we
We're
are.
in the period 13 right now. We'll need to see where the dust settles on that. And then in September, we can do our budget approval. We can talk about stipends. We can talk about future salary schedules. We can talk about bonus for this year. We'll know what numbers we're working with at that point.
So the decision can be made then. It can't be made like next Thursday at the board meeting.
No.
I'd prefer to wait until the dust settles on fiscal year 25.
But when it comes to the stipends, we gotta wait till the committee brings us the information.
I would recommend that it wait until September when the dust settles. That's what I would recommend. You all
Okay.
can do what you want to do. You're the board. So,
All right,
You can do what you want to do because you're the board. Meeting, you could, well, not tonight, you couldn't vote on it.
Well, it's just we've been talking for a long time, and I'm ready for us to go ahead and make some decisions and vote and see where that falls. But
I don't
I
think
can
we're
see
ready.
where
Yeah,
we
those
need to
would
wait
probably be the
until
two biggest things that-
September.
A bonus and stipends. I think we'd all be comfortable. That's, if we could do something, we could do that now. But the salary raise, any kind of increase, we've got to really project for that for the FY '27.
Okay. I want to circle back now. We're on the bucket too, and we're talking about the 245 days and reducing everybody by 5. But I'm sitting here thinking about that, I really want to see those salary schedules redone. But, so we reduce everybody by 5 so that we can give them a raise. We've done nothing. We've
Well, I was
just
just gonna
taken,
say, that's a
we've
very-
taken
I was-
the money out of their left pocket and put it in their right, and they're the exact same position. So I don't really like
Gonna bring that up.
reducing
That,
245.
that is.
Can I
was
say
gonna
something
but
else?
That's exactly what it is.
The 245, I'm thinking of the next 3 years, the extra time that our secondary principals, for sure, are going to be putting in. They need time because they're going to have all the things going on their campuses with all the building that's going on. So I support the principal keeping a 245 day.
I'm looking at the end
For
of the
sure.
day bottom line. If we, let's just say, we decrease down to 240. Piggybacking off of what Ms. Temple said, if we did that and then we gave a 2% raise, and by the time you take out teacher retirement and Fed and Uncle Sam's money and all that, actually they're going to be making even less.
Yes, ma'am. So the harsh reality of 245 to 240, to harvest enough money, you can't cut out exceptions. You couldn't cut out principals. You couldn't cut out janitors. You couldn't cut out bus drivers. You'd have to do across the board. So you'd have to look at that. Number two, like you just said, you're taking money out of the right pocket and putting it in the left pocket. Philosophically, the people that it wouldn't hurt are the 190s. If you take that money out and then put it into a pile to make the pile bigger for raises, the benefiters, in that case, or beneficiaries, in that case, are anybody that's not a 240. Well, it's really a 190. But your 240, your 245s to 240s, to harvest enough cash, you got to do it across the board. You couldn't do any exceptions. And then they were getting, like you said, zero benefit out of a raise
At the end of the day,
because
they're going to get
they were-
less money.
they were part of the bill payers. That is correct.
So,
The raise would not benefit them at all.
No,
No, ma'am.
I don't
Not
like
after
this
taxes,
option.
teach, all the fees
Right.
you got to pay into, all that, no.
But we'll bring it to you.
Yeah.
We'll crunch it and do all of that.
Okay, well, the flex period, man, that's like a no-brainer there. That's just, that needs to be
As-
done.
For clarity,
Where are you?
we're the
no.
only,
Page 4, fourth line. Sorry.
which
Flex
one?
period?
It's right underneath.
The prep time.
The prep time.
That's not flex, that's
Your prep time.
prep time, not,
Yeah.
you said
Yeah.
flex time.
I did say flex, but I
For-
meant
for-
prep time.
yes, ma'am, for clarity, when we got into cardonics, I've kind of got my arms wrapped around that now. We can see every school district out there. We're the only ones that do this.
When you say
the state of
this,
Arkansas.
what do you mean?
I mean that they
This.
have a planning period every 90 minutes, every single day. So we're required, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Smith, by law, 220 a week?
200.
200, thank you. And at the high school, we have about 425.
450.
450, see, I was close. And then when you add in early release on top of that today, so we're way beyond what the minimum requirement of. So we believe that this is an area that could be a reduction.
Yeah, I think
So Colonel Stanger, could you say that one more time about that we are the only, say that one more time?
When, it was a little over a month ago, we did another cardonics review, and with a member of the company that is, has been here in Arkansas too. And we were trying to sort out staffing. We were looking in the system, and the high school was, by the current model, what you could say would be grossly overstaffed, and it's all because of that extra prep time. And if we remove that, you look at staffing, it fixes it, essentially, in the model. And then so I asked the question, not quite, I was still learning how the system worked. I said, well, who else does that? And he goes, well, nobody. and we had the ability to spot check, and everyone, I do the drop down, you can look at other school districts in the system. I hadn't found one. So I'm just, just saying what the environment that we're operating in looks like.
And Dr. Paluski, just for clarity as well, on those weeks that early release is used for teacher give back time, we could count that towards the total amount during that week. But those days that we require PLCs or training or something that is required, as far as our schedule goes, that does not go and count towards the total 200 minutes of prep time.
Good point. Good point. So it sounds like everybody's on board with us taking even a deeper dive with the high school team and begin the preparation of looking at what that might look like for the following year.
That is a huge number
It is.
over there in savings.
It is a big number.
Huge.
100%.
Right.
And that's probably a little conservative.
I want to better understand.
High school schedule planning. Okay.
So can,
And-
will we hear from principal or whoever before we actually
Sure, we can. We can have,
do that, so we can get a better
yep.
understanding of?
that's under Dr. Rogers' shop, so he's been over at the high school here quite a bit. So absolutely, we'll start a conversation, and if you would like a matrix done by them that says pros and cons, we can, from their vantage point, if you'd like something like that, we'd be happy to do it.
Well, keep in mind, it's always harder to take away than to give. When you get used to that, it's very hard to
Now,
pull it
on
back.
that,
Well, since they're on, what's that, for AB scheduling?
Block AB.
Block
schedule.
That,
Mm-hmm.
that will create a lot of elimination of teachers because they had those,
Flex.
preps and
And
too much
flex time.
time.
Mm-hmm.
when we've met with those students, they had expressed to us, it's a waste of some of their
Yep.
time at the high school.
Yep.
It's in COE more so.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Brown has our projections here estimate at 18 or 16 positions. So remember when you're in
I
my,
estimated it would be 16, but I also thought that would be 100%. So I did an 80% multiplier on that. So the savings number there is based on a 13 position savings. I didn't use the full 16. If we're able to get full 16, I use that. And I also estimated the salary to be at 50,000, which there are positions that are paid, there are teaching positions that are paid more. But I estimated on the low end.
gotcha, you just took the average in there.
So it could
like
be
the
a whole lot
potential
more
savings here,
savings.
The potential
Correct.
savings is greater than what I put on here.
Yeah, that's why I said this is a conservative estimate. As far as you start looking at positions, it also can get done through attrition. You
Yeah,
know,
I
we
was
have
just
a-
gonna say, that would be the first place we would look.
Right.
Somebody retires, somebody moves on, we just
Right.
wouldn't fill that position just like we did. So
exactly.
we're not impacting or riffing somebody.
Right.
That would be our first approach strategy. You-
Oh, so you're gonna have her to come in so she can give us some clarity of that on this?
Yeah, we'll look at the, kind of the benefits and drawback of that, but what it would potentially look like. But what Colonel was referencing is how would we get there with really, without riffing someone, is that if somebody retired, we just wouldn't fill that position. If somebody went to another school district, we wouldn't fill that position. We would start banking those positions the best that we could to get. And you know, the other thing is here is teacher certification based on what courses are being offered. So,
That's what I'm talking
Yep.
about.
Yep.
So we won't lose any academic teachers, although she say I may not need them, and then we come up and we short somewhere. You know, I need a clarity on that.
sure, it would just, yeah, we would just add another section on everybody's for teaching. But yeah, we'll do all that. We'll do all that.
We count on y'all doing excellent planning and.
I'm
and
sorry?
I said count on y'all doing excellent planning so we won't come up short, right, Ms. Dot? We
That's
don't want to
right.
come up short.
Sure.
They're planning on that and
I
they're
wanna
using,
see this.
On
This is
the,
dealing with the education of our children.
yes.
And I don't want to see them sitting up talking about they don't have a teacher for this. When we look at everything, Dr. Paluski, I know we're not short when you've shown us the personnel, who we hiring. But then I still would like to be able to understand how this process worked and how we got there to that point. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, sure.
You got it?
10-4.
All right. All right.
On the next item after it, the eliminate holiday pay, I need more
How many
clarity
employees,
in
that kind of
employees that it's affecting, because like I said, I'm under the assumption when we talked about it before that these employees were strictly transportation, maintenance, and
Yes,
custodians.
there's
But-
only,
I want the true breakdown, not
Yes.
the assumption.
and there's not, I believe they, at some point, Mr. Brown, correct me if I'm wrong, but these folks were grandfathered in when there was a change made, so there's maybe a handful of employees. But
I'd
we'll
have to
give
look
them,
it up. I believe we've answered that question.
I do
in a
too. It's like
budget analysis.
9, I wanna think.
remember doing that. I just have to look up the data.
Okay.
Dr. P, I think we came back and corrected that value. I think it was more than what we originally thought. Ms. Gwen, didn't you help with that? We thought it was originally 9, but it ended up being 30 or something. That's accurate. Thank you, Ms. Gwen. Yes, ma'am.
Well, how many people, Scott, Ms. Williams, well, how many people does that represent for $80,000?
Where you at, Amy?
And I'm not sure on
Oh, okay. That'll be information, go back to what you said,
but
okay?
Mr. Smith, to your point, I do believe all the individuals that were getting holiday pay are classified.
Yes.
Classified?
Only
Yes.
classified.
Only classified.
They not making that kind of money.
For holiday pay?
It all depends on who it is.
Now, have we, regarding holiday pay, because it was grandfathered in, so we've already changed policy where we do not do that from like today on, right? Yes.
2014
It
on.
was back in 13 or 14, the policy was changed.
Okay, yes. Okay.
So this would be a standard until that person leaves.
Yes, that's right.
Gotcha.
If they move, retired, it would just go away.
Gotcha.
The way it currently sits, the board at any time can take action to change an action of the previous board. So, I mean, if you did want to do away with it, then you would have the ability to do that. But I think it's coupled with the conversation, as you said, what classifications are being affected.
Right.
And what was the conversation at the time that was told to the employees to try to, keep them a part of the North Little Rock School District.
And the fact that the policy has already changed, and so it's not like this is gonna happen again. As they retire out or whatever,
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
going away. Got you. And I do believe, if I'm not wrong, but the next one is eliminate sped teacher. We've all said no.
We're not touching it.
We ain't touching that.
Hey, before you go.
But
though,
let
since
me-
we on
let me
budget
start
too, Madam
with-
President,
I was finna say,
wanted to ask
let me
you a
start
question.
with Ms. Williams and
I want to ask you a question. I didn't get a clarity on the top 2 issues on the bucket list too. We're on the bucket list, but I didn't know the clarity of what we said we were going to do about those 2.
the 245.
Yeah,
He's gonna bring us back some more information.
okay, and also reduce the, what about that? The 245?
The reduction of the executive team was yes, I have that on the to-do list.
Okay,
And then the second line of reduction of the 245, including the executive team, that's everyone with the exception of custodians and maintenance. That's where we're asking for additional information before we make that decision.
You want
Okay, I
all
just wanted
245 is what you asked for.
all right.
And then we'll bring you the administrator index. That's not on here, but we'll add it, that we will look at, we'll do our research around, so you can see what everybody else is paying on that index, and then we'll go from
And
there.
so you all agreed to reducing all contract days on the 195 also? They don't make nothing anyway.
We asked for more
Detail.
information. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
But
Yes,
I,
ma'am.
but hang on, Ms. Williams, I think makes a good point. So on that line item, that's 390. Do you want us to look at reducing all contracts by 5 days? Well, that's what that shows, right?
No, with the exception of custodian, maintenance, and bus. And Ms. Woncom said she wanted to see both. The breakdown,
Without the
if we did everybody.
Wait, of 245? That's what I thought I heard. Of all 245, because there's custodians in that.
Yes.
We got that. But when you go to the next one, which is what Ms. Williams is saying,
The
reduce all
195.
contracts 195 days. So that's everybody that's not 245. Do we want to reduce, well, that's what that number is reducing everybody that's,
They not having any days to no way. And did she say if we gave them a raise, it still wouldn't be making no money? Didn't you
Well,
say that,
that's-
Ms.
that's-
Temple?
I feel like we should just table this one and see if we can find the money someplace else, because basically if we take 5 days away to give you a raise, we've done nothing for you.
you're exactly right.
Correct.
We've done absolutely nothing for you.
Okay, I wasn't
I
gonna cut
think-
them no way.
I think table all of that and see if we can find it someplace else.
So right now, we'll focus on the 245 employees.
I still agree to 245. They can get some loose time. 5 days not gonna kill them.
So if I'm hearing it correctly, we want to, some would prefer we just X the,
Don't even look at anybody
Don't even look
below
at nobody's-
245.
right.
What?
Don't even look at the numbers as it relates to any contracts below 245.
Okay. Thank you.
And you were gonna bring back, everybody and compare it to taking out custodians and maintenance.
Yeah, we'll show you everybody that's in 245, because that's what I heard, is show us everybody in there. And then if it's maintenance that's in there and custodians, you can see how much the impact would be if they were reduced by 5 days.
Then I also heard that when it comes to 195 or below, some is saying leave that alone as well, and then some are saying they want more information.
Yep, just let us know what
I
you
said
would like.
leave it alone on me. You go right to Ms.
Mr. Taylor?
Let me make sure I'm clear. Leave it alone.
Okay. Miss Valerie?
Is there a way we could look at the ones between 195 and 240 to see if we could just reduce 1 day? Don't take 5 days, but just go down to maybe 1 day. I don't know if
I don't
that
think
still
we're gonna-
comes up in what you just said, Ms. Temple, about how you're taking something away and then you're just giving it right back. I don't know how that compares, but would that be a possibility? I don't know.
I mean, anything's, we
I
can.
mean, we've said 5 days here, but that can add up pretty quickly for somebody that's paying the electric bill and the car payment and.
Miss Temple, yours?
I'd like, again, I'm saying again, the salary schedule's updated, because instead of taking anybody's days, I would like to not give the executive team a raise and give everybody else a raise. Let you keep your days, and that would be my preference.
And I think that will help with morale. 100%.
I'm sorry, about reduction in,
Talking to Mike so I can
What-
hear you.
reducing days and no.
No, what I'm saying is like the executive, I don't want to take anybody's days, because if we're taking your days to give you a raise, we're doing nothing for you.
Correct.
And so I would like the salary schedules redone where we can decide who gets a raise. I'd like the executive team not to get a raise this year. Sorry, guys, I know you're working really hard, but I want you to keep your days and not get a raise.
Are you
And
talking
that is
about
what it
year
is.
26, 27?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Everything is gonna get done.
And I just want to say, I appreciate that, Ms. Temple, because just to be the advocate of our folks, I mean, if you reduced all executive team by 5 days, and you reduce their index, and you don't give them a raise, I know we make the most, and we're happy to take our hit. That's just that might be a tremendous hit for,
That's a lot.
that's three
That's a lot.
major things on an
That's a lot.
employee.
I think
I
I'm
would
going to
say
go with.
that if the conversation is the intent is to not have executive team see any more money, maybe you could reduce the days but still give the raise and see where that works out in the wash to
It's,
see if it would be equivalent.
it's not.
It's
It-
not?
No,
It's-
you're taking money out of your right pocket
Yeah.
to put it back in your left pocket, and it's neutral.
We
It-
got it, though.
Well-
We'll let you look at all that, and then you
Yeah.
can make that decision.
Okay, can I say mine again now?
Okay. You say yours.
Madam President, I'm with Mr. Taylor. Leave it alone.
Okay.
Right?
Leave which
We've
one
heard
alone?
Not reduce any days.
The one,
Any
that-
of those? You know you don't want
No,
about
she just-
nothing?
195.
yeah, just the, just.
195.
195,
Just
I
the-
said don't bother that. But you bother the two top.
But I don't want to reduce anybody's.
Oh, you don't?
Okay.
Well, see, when the teachers were
Okay,
asking.
so let's go back to you then. Let's start
Okay.
over again.
Maybe
So
I don't agree with
So
Mr.
what was
Taylor.
on
Maybe
discussion?
he's saying
Let's
something
talk
different.
again.
Line
Let's
3.
let's start from the top again. Let's go with you, Ms. Williams.
I shouldn't have asked.
What do you want to do with the 245?
Oh,
Take
wait.
5 days.
And what about the 195?
Nothing.
All right, Mr. Taylor.
Take 5 days from 245
Mm-hmm.
and don't take any days from 195.
Okay.
So well said.
Well, what about the middle one? The top one is the
It-
245. Then you got the middle one that says,
Is we
Less-
looking at the days? Is either the 245s period or the 195s?
so
do you
we're
wanna
not doing
take- do
anything
you
to
wanna take
anybody that
5?
has 213 days. Are we looking at that or what?
No, that's,
They'll have 240 days if you take it.
They would be included in the 195 line.
Right.
213. So if you'll notice the third line
I
that
see.
says reduce all contracts that are between 195 and 240.
240. I see now. Okay.
So a 213 or a 223 or a 240.
is all into that.
I don't
fall
want
into that
to, okay, I don't want to reduce the exec team, the 245, and I don't want to reduce the others. I
You
don't
don't
want
want to
any
do any reductions, period.
Don't
Got
want
it.
Any reductions in days.
Temple?
No reductions.
Period. Got it.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw a curveball. Just so everyone understands, 245-day contracts are not only our executive team. We've got support staff on 245. I want to make sure everyone understands that. Okay? So with that being said, I would like to look into executive team contracts by 5 days. And I say that only, again, the executive. And this is a look at, because up until tonight, we have not had the administrative index in the conversation. I mean, I've repeated it numerous times,
Yeah,
but
we
now it's
did.
finally on the list,
Yeah, yeah,
and we haven't had it on the list until tonight.
Sure.
Right.
So,
We
with
already
that
have
being
that.
said, it's a conversation.
We already have that. It's 48,000, almost 49,000. It's,
No, that's just the 5 days. She's
For
talking
the
about the
executive.
index of the, because it's on a license scale, and then you get 25% or 30% on top of
Oh,
that.
okay.
That's the index that, and I think at that point when we were talking about it, we were so close to getting contracts out, and we needed to do more work, but that's where we are.
But line 1 is exec team only, reduction of 5 days.
But I'm being outvoted, which is fine. But I said my piece.
Right, but you can also see that
16.
That's yours.
that doesn't net a lot of money just
Yeah.
doing that.
No, it doesn't.
But
It's
we'll
not a
get
lot of money, but we always said if a cut's gonna be made, to let it start at the top and not from the bottom. That's been the biggest complaint in the district.
Yes.
And so, and then to make it fair and equitable, because we're dealing with transparency here, we need to know what 16 employees, we can look at them and see, I don't want to cut a nurse out if she knows she's supposed to be here. We
Right.
need to know specifically maybe their position
We will.
before,
We'll-
I would want to, if you need
That's what I thought I was
dyslexia
clear on.
people in the summer school, are you not over there in the morning? Yes, I'm still. Okay, dyslexia, we need to be looking at nurses that Mr. Finks is over, that, but common sense board, who works a total 245 days in school is out, and they only work for 11 months. What are they doing? Playing with their fingers or something? Nobody's here. Now, I do know, like on your executive team, you all
Got
are
my calendar everywhere.
interviewing, you're trying to get your curriculums together, That's a whole different scenario, but tell me about the other people. I wanna know about everybody.
They're-
And I'll be
They're paying payroll.
I said there are other things that they do. I want to know what
They
they're
fix,
doing. Thank you, Colonel.
they fix things, they pay people.
I know.
Yep.
Well, I
We can move on.
I thought I had what you wanted.
Thank you.
I bet.
So,
Ms.
It's
Walker.
Rochelle's turn.
my thought, my vote would be more information for the breakdown of the 245s, just for transparency, so we can have them side by side.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, my lean towards would be line item 1, which says reduce executive team contracts by 5 days. I go for that simply because we need to send a message to our employees that the exec team, we care and we love you. On the reduction of the other 245, leave them alone. And the reduction of the 195, basically nobody gets 5 days deducted except the exec team.
Can I
Okay.
ask you, if they don't get a raise, is that not sending the same message?
Or rebuttal, just
Okay.
as a look, redo that. Or I would go for the exec team not receiving a raise
And leaving their
and
days.
nobody
Sure.
loses days.
Yeah. So,
One of the other, but at the end of the day, I want the appearance to be that the exec team understands we don't have the money to give you,
Sure.
but we're willing to sacrifice.
sure, absolutely.
Because we're on the top.
Gotcha. So, just so I'm clear, because what I thought was you wanted to at least see, not that you were making a decision, but you wanted to see everybody that fell into the 245 bucket. You still want to see that? You don't want to see that? You just want to see executive level leaders and what would 5 days look like for all of them?
That's
And you want
fine.
to see the positions?
I can work with that.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
So we're really back
Yes.
to just line 1?
yes,
Yes.
All right. Not all 245, just us.
correct.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
we're adding, because you've already got it on your list, the administrative index.
Got it.
And it doesn't mean we're doing both. It just means we
Right.
need to look at either one.
Gotcha.
Correct.
We're not slashing all 3 tires.
It's a good way to put it.
Okay.
We're riding around on one tire.
So
Okay. got it.
Everybody's on one accord. We got
Got
that
it.
one.
And
Then the next, what are we doing with the reduction, North Florida, the prep time? Is that
oh,
a,
yeah, we're,
I think
that's,
a done deal.
We're gonna look at that.
right. We will have that down, and then I have.
but for Ms. Williams, if you could bring back some clarity breakdown of how that works.
Right.
Right, we'll look at the pros and cons, and
Yes.
we'll do all that. We'll have Dr. St.
But
Louis
it's a
here.
no-brainer. It needs to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I
Got
do
it.
have, you want to at least see, not the people, but the positions of
For the holiday pay, yes.
And then we're back to.
We're done with,
Okay.
take sped off there.
Okay, okay. Yep, thank you. Our special ed teachers will appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay,
Now we're next to the next page. Eliminate early morning and lunch aids.
What is that? Bucket 3?
Bucket 3.
Go to page 5.
Wait a
Hen-
minute.
Henry.
Just
Yeah.
point of order. Not suggesting we cut anything with what I'm about to say. How many sped teachers do we actually have that we give bonuses once in June?
Dr. Stoll will,
So we have approximately 60, we're between 50 and 60, so that's why that dollar amount didn't look right to me
So
either,
that's-
Mr.
so-
Brown.
What's 1,500, what's 268,000 divided by 1,500?
What was
your
your equation?
That totaled about-
268,804.
And we also need to remember 2 things. One, it comes out of sped budget. And the second, they don't get 1,500. They get about 1,200, 1,100, because you've got to take out
take them.
You
But
gotta
that's
take
even
out
less.
benefits.
So that's not correct, because Jacob just did the math, and it looks like we have 178 sped teachers, and we have nowhere near 178 sped teachers. I thought that dollar amount was more like 98,000.
probably fringe.
What about fringe benefits?
Is
Probably-
is that the fringe?
Yeah.
There's some fringe, it wouldn't be that much. I'd have to
That
look
just
at the
seems really.
calculation.
Do they get it twice a year or once?
No, they get it once a year at the end of the year, after they complete their year.
So we'll check that number, but it sounds like taking the temperature of the board, you have no interest in reducing
I
that
don't
for
reduce it,
special
but
ed.
that would, that's
The
some money
numbers
in
need
there
to
we
look
could-
right, yeah.
We could use.
Is it federal money?
I don't know.
It's
It's,
federal
it's
money.
federal money.
Yeah, you can't really switch it to somewhere else. It could be used on something
It's
else.
a good try, though.
Yes.
That was a good
Can't
try.
rob Peter to pay Paul.
Let me clarify that. I mean, we do, I mean, our RMAC was the source of funding that we had planned to pay this bonus out of. That's not materialized since we've instituted the bonus, because RMAC is overspent, and we have to transfer the over expenditures to operating. So operating ends up picking up this every year.
However, we do still have to spend maintenance of effort for special ed. So it goes into our maintenance of effort, what we spend on this, because we're spending it on sped. So you have
We
to spend
do.
a certain amount of dollars. He and I always, we have a lot of.
And we're about to
That's
get
okay, let's
into
hear
it
this
here
guy.
in front
We
of
already
you.
have a lot of about
We're
sped.
about to get into it.
But just
Okay.
remember, maintenance of effort, once we spend that, we always
We have to keep spending that
Correct.
same dollar amount.
So what we'll
Is
do is,
that
we'll go
coming
back and
down?
we'll give you some more information on that one, just total number of
Just for
individuals, we'll just
information.
clarify, yep.
And you did say that Dr. St. Louis will be able to come back and give us the ins and outs of that.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
just would be the impact if we move to
Okay.
that, kind of like what's the pros and cons of that, but sure.
All right.
So, okay,
All
right.
right.
I'm good.
We, bucket 3.
No, no. Oh,
There are three of them.
there's I got my hand up, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Eliminate early morning and lunch aid, is that where we are?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't see a teacher doing that. She'll have enough in the day to do besides trying to be a lunch aide and an early morning person.
I agree.
That is not fair, and it's a poor showing. To me, it's degrading. So no,
I
on
agree.
that one.
Mr. Taylor?
No.
Miss Valerie?
I used to do some of that early morning and
That was in the old
lunch.
days.
So I definitely say no on this one. I don't think we should do that. I don't think the teachers need to be doing that.
Miss,
Yeah, I would want to table this one. I think we can try to find it someplace else.
I'm fine with that, I'm good.
it's a no for me.
Okay. Moving on.
We're down to Dean of Students.
Dean of students.
Right, so in that one, so in our academy model, there are, I do believe there's 6 Mr. Brown at the high school. So one of those is attached to each one of the academies. Their primary role and responsibility is discipline. The notion there is to take the discipline off the assistant principal, so the assistant principal can spend more time in classrooms doing instruction versus dealing with discipline. There are also 2 at the middle school, the 7th and 8th grade campus. There is 1 3/4 partial, Ms. Roberts, who's dean plus 504. And then I do believe we have 1 at Ridge Road because it's the largest elementary school that we have. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Brown, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And one at the COE.
I wanted
Yeah,
to
there's
Coach Kilberry.
Five at the high school, 1 COE.
Yep.
10-4.
So, how have you measured success on that program as far as it working?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing to look at, since our primary role is discipline, is what they're doing as it relates to discipline. So it's not only discipline that they deal with, but they're also mentors to students as well, coaching students. There's also an element that they partake in as it relates to in-school suspension with students. That would be one indicator that I would look at, Mr. Williams. What we can also do, since Dr. St. Louis will...
me Mr. Williams?
I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. My apologies, sir.
Okay,
We almost through with the buckets.
go ahead.
But what I was going to say, when Dr. St. Louis comes, she can certainly speak to that as part of, having that conversation around the deans. It's a pretty common model across the United States, especially around small schools, and certainly working with students around behavior interventions, those types of things.
So what about the success of the assistant principal? Since she doesn't have to deal with that, can you tell any difference, or how's that measured? Is she providing better academics? Are the students doing better on scoring? Because you got the discipline side, so she could concentrate more on the academic side, right?
Correct, as well as the assistant principals, right?
Have you seen a change?
Gradually, yes. If I look back at 2020 when I arrived till today, the high school's in a much better place than it's ever been. Is there still work to do? Absolutely. Continuing to get into classrooms, observe instruction, provide feedback to teachers, be on planning time when there's professional learning communities and sitting in and coaching teachers. That's where we've been moving them to do that work as it relates to spending more time on discipline. Now, I'll say even with the deans, they do have to do, when you think about on the discipline side, when there's a discipline incident, they're required to do an investigation. There has to be a written report. So, there's a lot of paperwork, so to speak, that has to be completed as it gets entered into Power School that has to be done, because that drives what the consequence is based upon the infraction. So, and it's a large high school. I mean, we're just about at 2,000 students. That's a lot. I think the academy model has made a significant difference. I was just at a meeting today on the Central Academies of Arkansas. We'll be presenting that. There's a lot of positive indicators, the number of students that, into careers, industry certifications. Out of the schools of Central Arkansas, we probably look the best. And so those are some early metrics that we're moving in the right direction. And we have, when I share my goals and our strategic plan, you'll see all the metrics that are related to the academic areas. That's goal 1. Goal 2, you'll see the safe and supportive. That gets into attendance. That gets into discipline. It gets into in-school suspension. It gets into bullying. I also put cell phones in there this year, even though they're going to be banned, to be able to look at that even further. And then that's really the work that relates to school improvement planning that we'll be doing with our leaders as we go into next week, as we start the next school year.
I still would like to hear more, especially from Dr. St. Louis, and possibly if possible, the assistant principal. That's a pretty hefty price.
Yeah, it is. And I think...
And if we're getting equitable return on it, I'm all for it. I just don't know. I don't know if that's happening.
And I can tell you from 2020 till today, I mean, our reductions in fighting has dropped dramatically. Is it perfect? No. But it's not as high as it has been. I think the academy structure, but we're happy to. I mean, I'll be happy to grab every one of those principals that has a dean. I will tell you they'll advocate for it. But I think it's important you listen to them.
Yeah.
And the work that's happening that they're doing on our campuses.
Is there a plan to say that one day we won't need this? We're going to get so good that that assistant principal and that principal can handle that, or is the plan to do what we're doing?
Right. So when you look at my goals and you'll see what all those metrics are, that's what we want to measure and monitor. And so we should be able to see in those areas that they're directly involved in, that we should start to see those numbers go down. We are, but overall in the next 5 years, which is what we're projecting to 2020, we want to see that be reduced even further.
And Dr. Paluski, we did measure that at 7th Street this year.
Yes.
7th Street was one of the campuses that had a high discipline rate for the proportion of students.
Totally forgot that.
We implemented a dean, and then we ended up having a dean opening this year. We spoke with the principal. We looked at the discipline data. There was no longer a justification.
Yeah, there
Ms.
wasn't a
Harrison has
need.
done such a good job getting that campus
Mr.
under
Smith,
control.
thank you for reminding me of
No
that.
worries.
I forgot about that. If you look in that reorganization, we eliminated the dean at 7th Street, and he is exactly right. When we looked at the data, they worked themselves out of a job, Mr. Taylor. And so that's a really good success story, but when we had a vacancy here, we didn't eliminate, we just transferred them then to the middle school, so they still were able to have a job, but
And
thank
we
you.
absorbed a salary.
And we
So it was-
absorbed a salary
it was
out of that
cost
as well,
savings.
yes. Thank you for that, that's a great success story.
Oh, okay.
I know we're
Any
down to
other-
about 10 minutes.
Any other questions about that?
Well, I feel like we've had more expulsions this year than I can remember. I mean, we've had expulsions after expulsions after expulsions. I mean, I'm like, what are the deans doing? I mean, it's been, and then also, I would like to see the absenteeism of the principals and assistant principals, because it seems like that's gone up with more people in the building too. I'm not just loving this myself. But
So remember, and thanks for bringing up the expulsions. This is the number of expulsions that we've had this year is the highest since I've been here. But I will tell you, because you've seen every single one of them, our administrators are doing what we're asking them to do. And I'm not going into any of those specific cases, but you've seen some pretty severe cases of assault on adults, assault on other students, the use of cell phones in an inappropriate way. And I thank you for taking the action that you've taken because of the egregious act. And,
Dr. Paluski,
ma'am,
I don't have a problem with us having dean of students if they would do something. What I'm saying is, I'm on the same boat as Ms. Temple on there. We say we have these people in positions, but they're not, some kind of ways, we've always had, as long as I'm sure when Ms. McLean was coming up in school, we always had dean of students. You know what I'm saying?
sure, it's not an
And,
uncommon model.
But they did their jobs, and to me, it's a waste. And then you're gonna have assistant principals. What is most feasible? You said the assistant principals would help with the evaluations, doing round walk-ins. Okay, and then these folk up here are supposed to be dealing. Well, why do we have? Well, she already said it. I don't know. After you bring us some data back to let us see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll put Dr. St.
Okay.
Louis right here, and
Because some-
and as we look at continue this year
Looks good on
and look in
paper.
our continue to look at our metrics, we'll be happy to.
How many dean of students do we have?
10.
10.
6 at the high school, 2 at 7, 8, 1 at 6th grade, which is does 504 and discipline, and don't forget they also do bus discipline as well. And then we have 1 at Ridge Road. It's our largest elementary school at 550. And to Mr. Smith's point, we reduced 1 at 7th Street.
We just had a couple of months ago, that discipline report, whereas we can look at it and see.
Sure,
That to me would kind of help me to decide
sure.
about these dean of students. But there was a report given us to in
Yes.
workshop.
Yes.
And we can look at that if you just go back and get that.
Absolutely. And our plan this year, it always has been, but we want to make sure that at least by quarter, we're reporting on our metrics to the board. So you can see the number of infractions and incidents by school. I know something that you've asked us. We've done it. We just haven't done it every quarter.
Okay.
Happy to.
Would,
Okay.
would it be too much to ask if you did it by month?
Oh, we have it every day.
No, I'm talking about to the board.
Monthly
mean-
report.
We can put it in the weekly board report.
Yeah.
We could, we could do, we have that report every single day. That could get pretty lengthy when you're looking at every single school, but we can put it in there.
I'm
Sure.
just saying, a lot can happen in 3 months.
Sure.
And if
Well-
we can start seeing trends before that 3 month ends, gives us a little more time to react.
Yep. And with the new cell phone and,
I would say included in the weekly report
okay,
versus them reporting to us.
Ms. Hale runs
At a
that on
meeting.
a, sure.
That's exactly what I was going to say. There's a summary report by Ms.
Yeah,
Hale.
so we get it every week as an executive leadership team. Ms. Hale, it's in her section. We look at it every single week. So we can look at those trends, but we can just drop that into your weekly board report. That way you got every school every week.
Yeah.
And then when we come back at a board report, we can show you a comparison to last year to this year. Then you can do some comparison.
Do we still have STEM facilitators?
We do not, and that's what I was telling with Mr. Brown when we updated. There's some things in here that when we had this discussion with you, we'd taken care of. So remember, those were part of the reorganization.
That's what I thought.
We had numerous ones that were not filled. We banked those, but I think we had 3, 4, Mr. Smith, STEM.
That sounds correct, sir.
Yeah, and they're STEM lab. We had five vacancies. 5 were vacant, and we had a total of, well, there were 9 total, but 5 of those were vacant. So 4 employees were impacted by that. But that was done.
But basically, it's minute.
Yes,
we can skip
correct.
past
That
that.
was a total cost savings of $323,473.85.
Gotcha.
So-
Who are the dual employed? I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. Are you on STEM facilities?
Mm-hmm.
Bucket 3,
Yeah.
okay.
I thought that was a part of the reorganization.
It was. So
So it should be green.
It should be green.
The nurses in there too are the same thing.
yes,
Okay.
there is
They're
one.
still in the bucket, but we did
Yes.
them we did them during the reorganization, so
Correct.
that's a
We
moot
had one
point, too.
nurse that we did not fill. Colonel's absolutely
Yeah.
right.
So should we be adding that 436,000 to our savings? Or not?
We already did, yeah.
Okay, I already did.
Yep.
So it
So-
should be
It's-
green.
Correct.
Or we'll just remove it from that
Uh,
bucket.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
Is that the same thing on the dual employees?
No.
No.
Dual employees are still, when we have what we call dual bus drivers, so we have some instances where we have a teacher at the academy that is assigned there, but also drives the bus for students there. And when the students get off, they get off. And then they jump back on that bus at the end of the day. And so does it say in here how many employees we have?
No, it just says hire additional.
So it is 100,000. I mean, some of that, I think that was correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but I think that was a strategy used because of our bus shortage. And that people that had CDL licenses and
Which means basically if we eliminated that, then we're gonna still be short.
Short bus.
So let me clarify here. The dual drivers are, no, we do have licensed teachers that drive additional bus routes. They're not included in this dual employee. The
Oh.
dual employee is a classified position that teachers are exempt from overtime. So if they drive a route, they're not getting overtime for that. They just get regular bus driver pay. But if I'm a custodian or I'm a security person and I'm driving a bus route, I'm working my 40 hours. I'm not exempt from overtime because I'm not a licensed teacher. And I'm jumping on the bus, driving a bus. I'm getting overtime for driving the bus
But
route.
still, at the end of the day, if we eliminated this, we would still be short bus drivers because they wouldn't be able
Right,
to
I mean,
do.
the thing here, I mean, you couldn't
It-
eliminate it without hiring additional people. I mean,
Right.
So if you, it would be, the idea here would be to hire additional drivers that would make regular standard pay
Which is
and not pay
happening.
overtime
But that's
for
not gonna happen.
employees that are
But that's
working 40 hours.
You would,
So is that possible?
so it is possible. What you would do is you would attrit them over time. And so there again, you're trying to bend this cost curve in this case, like over a whole year. You just can't snap the chalk line and stop it. 'Cause now
Right.
but you could okay, here's 2 now, here's the next month, let's look how fast hiring is going.
I
But
can see that.
once you eat it, you know, one bite at a time, you're not trying to swallow the whole thing at once.
But we just don't want to eliminate, and we don't have anything to replace it with.
Correct, ma'am. So you do that one in increments until you, you know.
You couldn't implement that one overnight. You would have to put job, applications up for bus drivers. As you hire, you could work off employees that are working overtime.
But then, how do you decide on who? Let's just say
I
10
would
people.
say- Well, there's 23 people.
Okay.
I say you
I
put
just-
names in a hat and draw. Be the
That's,
fairest way.
I was just
You
wondering,
all are
how would
Yeah.
you,
board members, so
how would you decide
Right.
on elections.
on who it
I
is?
would-
Right. Do it with a board member, we could do it with this.
Yeah, I would just draw, I would do random drawings as you can
Yeah.
eliminate positions.
When you mentioned teachers do this, and I know in the past we've had some administrators do this, I'm assuming that includes the coaches, so coaches are included in that teacher statement, correct? Just
Cor-
for my knowledge.
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
Correct.
federal law exempts specifically licensed teachers from overtime requirements. So if you're a principal, teacher, administrator, coach, you're licensed, you're exempt from overtime. So if they drive, they get the standard
Yeah.
rate as a bus driver. It's the positions that are not exempt from overtime that,
Makes sense.
that this becomes an issue. It becomes expensive for the district.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Mr. Brown,
Ms. Williams?
are we on the one where it say hire additional employees at a standard? Is that the one we on?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. And eliminate employees with dual jobs.
Yes, ma'am.
And dual jobs are paid. Well, you all told us some untruth several years ago that you ought to pay the overtime to a custodian for $40,000, and I knew that was incorrect. Now, how do we still pay? We don't pay overtime anymore, do we? You do
Sure.
pay overtime. Okay, well, how is it that bus drivers, this goes back to something that's concerned then, when they do the trips, and they have a standard, they make this example, if they make $22 an hour, then you want to drop them down to $18 an hour. So you're eliminating all of this. This doesn't make sense. I'm getting confused on overtime. How come you don't give them something?
They still do make a blended overtime rate, correct, Brian?
They're still making overtime. It's just the standard rate of pay for that trip is different than a trip home with the employees.
Okay, because I appreciate your conversation you're giving me. What I'm trying to say, if Dorothy Williams make $22 an hour as a bus driver, but when I get ready to do a trip, go play football, you drop my pay down to $18 as a standard rate of pay. So where the overtime coming?
The overtime comes in if you work more than 40 hours. So we would take how many hours you work at your $22 an hour rate, and then how many hours you work at your $18 rate. And if it's over 40, then we calculate overtime using those two different rates. It's called blended overtime.
Well, see, they may be just going across the river, and you still drop their pay, so that's not fair.
Okay, that $18 would then be $27.
No.
At overtime, yes, because 18 at overtime is 27.
Oh, I can count up, but my understanding is when it was presented to us last month, my understanding is that if you do anything beyond, it was hard for us this past year to get people to do those trips because they were dropping the salary down to $18. I guess I'm talking to you, Mr. Brown, because you're the money man. And they would not come to work for Ms. Coleman after hours because they didn't feel it was fair. Like if right now, if I'm making $98 a day, and then when I get ready to go do something after this 8 hours, you're gonna drop my pay down to $80? That's what I'm saying. I'm not confused about it, cause I know what I'm talking about. I know, Ms. Temple,
Miss-
but it's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Hang on, I'm trying to understand also. So, I'm sorry, for a point of clarity, so I can understand what you're speaking on.
Right.
So if we hire a bus driver to do a route from 6 a.m. to, say, 5 p.m.,
Right,
okay? And we hire them at $22 an hour.
right.
And if they pick up a trip, because I'm trying to use your language, so if they pick up a trip, and I'm going to assume a trip is a field trip or a sporting event or a band competition, hello,
Okay,
okay? So that is after hours, okay? So that's going to say 4 p.m., okay? So,
right
hold on, this is my
Okay,
clarification moment.
okay.
You hold your horses,
there.
mama.
Okay,
4 p.m., you and I are going to go out back.
okay.
4 p.m. to say 10 p.m. because it's a trip, and this trip, using your words, is $18 an hour. Am I following correctly?
I'm following you.
Okay, so we're on the same page. So what is the complaint? Because I'm trying to
Their
understand the complaint.
The complaint was, Mr. Brown, you know better than I do. You know what the complaint was about the bus drivers.
But I don't.
It was hard to get
wanna
people.
know.
Now, what I'm trying to say, it was hard to get people to go on those field trips
Okay.
because they said they wanted to maintain their regular pay, but then they would be dropped down to their standard work of pay, which would be $8, although they're making $23. You know, like you and I got a job. Why would you drop my pay if you want me to go on a field trip?
And-
That was the big complaint.
Yes, ma'am. I think I can help with some clarity in regards to this that's on the other side of the house as well. So I had, even whenever I was an assistant principal at the high school, I worked Saturday school with Mr. Stone. That Saturday school carried a rate of $25. My hourly rate of pay was much higher than that. But I agreed to work the Saturday school at $25 an hour because it was extra compensation over and above my contract.
Right.
We do the same thing with tutoring. We do the same thing with after programs, all of these different things. And so the classified staff is honestly still getting the benefit of overtime in those situations. And so they are generally making in those moments, if they've worked a full week and worked their full 40 hours, they are earning a rate that is over their normal compensatory rate for their regular trips.
And then it also begs the question that if we can't get bus drivers to come in to do a field trip, how many field trips are we doing? We did 418 last year. Is that the right number? Is that too many? You cut the number of field trips, we don't have the trips to make.
Well, I tell you what, when we get complaints from school because the buses did not come, that was a clarity that we had because the bus drivers would not come because of conflict of pay, the drop. And that's all I remember. And there's no bus driver in here can explain to
So-
us any differently. But that is my concern when we are looking at the dual employees and you talking about overtime. I don't see it because otherwise if there was overtime for it, you would be able to see it and it would not have been a complaint to come in.
It's two different, ma'am, it's two different people. So a bus driver that just drives a normal route is essentially a part-time employee. They work 5 hours a day. That's it. Then they pick up, if they want to do a field trip, it's like having a second job. What this is when you have a payroll person, I'll use for an example, works 40 hours a week and then drives a bus. When they drive a bus, it's overtime. They're already getting their 40 hours a week compensation. Then they pick up this second job. Well, the second job is overtime by law because they've already worked their 40 hours because it's a job in the same district. Two different scenarios.
Okay.
So it's overtime at their normal rate of pay.
Yes, sir.
Because they're
It's
salary,
talking about
because
they're
they're salary,
full-time.
correct.
So is the
Yeah.
issue
It's by law.
full-time versus part-time? Is that the issue?
Yes, sir. The
So
federal
issue
government.
is what we're calling dual employees, which means
Right.
they have their employees that have a non-exempt, full-time, 40-hour per week job,
Got that part.
and they're driving.
Now they're driving a bus part-time, but that part-time pay is not at a normal bus driver's pay. It's replace that overtime pay.
It's not gonna be at the $22 an hour, it's gonna be at the blended overtime, which may be $33 an hour.
Now, you're talking about the people who gets over, which people did you talk about right there? Because what I understand you're saying is, if I have a 40-hour week, I choose to drive a bus, whatever I make per hour on that 40-hour week, I'm gonna get time and a half for when I drive that bus. Is that true?
No,
No.
it's a blended.
That's not true. Okay, I got you.
It's blended time, but it's still.
Even if I did 40 hours and I
It's
did a
still
4-hour job.
significantly higher.
Okay, all right.
It's a weighted, so you would have to get a weighted overtime rate, so it'd be
Okay.
40 hours at your regular job, and then how many hours you drove as a bus driver at the bus driving job, those are added together and blended for an overtime rate.
Which is a completely different scenario.
So like
It's
a
completely
para would
different
be a
scenario
good
But
example.
than,
it is still an overtime rate.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
see
which
what
is
you're
completely different than the field trip scenario.
So
Okay.
like a
Two
para
different
would be a
issues.
good example because they're classified. So
Yes.
I'm a para in a classroom. I work 40 hours like the teacher does. But because I'm classified, when I go to drive the bus after I get off, I'm gonna get time and a half.
That's right.
Correct.
Your $22 per hour bus driving job becomes
Just jumped up.
maybe
Overtime.
$30 or $33 per hour.
Because my contract says I'm full-time and
Yes,
I get
ma'am.
40 hours. That's the dual employees
the
that we're
dual-
That's
talking
the
about.
dual part.
The OT part
Gotcha.
that we're talking.
That's the dual
Gotcha.
part, correct.
Gotcha.
Okay, so staying on this dual, is there any way that we can start phasing that out?
If that's the board's will, yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
So I'll tell you this, let's do this, Dorothy, let's compromise. I would
Okay.
like to see a report on how much we pay on those overtime, on those employees that do dual employees. Run that report for me. I want to see it.
Okay. We have last year's.
Versus-
data.
And then
Is-
you and I can have a conversation along with everyone else, but that's a compromise for you and I. You okay
Right.
with that?
'Cause I just wanna see
Versus if
something.
we actually hire a bus driver and have to pay them, what's gonna be the difference?
Sure.
What's gonna be the, am I making sense? What's
Yep.
gonna be the
With
savings?
that first report, we'll know that. Yes.
On this
'Cause I wanna
chart,
know
We'll have to do that as if they were just
A bus
a-
driver.
a bus driver doing
Just the
5
bus-
hours,
yes.
not
Yes.
all the extras.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
so there's $100,000 over here.
Mhm.
So that's the savings if we stop doing this with those 23 employees.
That's an average. So if you'll look under in the column FY '22, we have 107,109.91, which was the overtime rate. Yeah, that's the overtime expense that we had in that fiscal year. Then '23 was 107,346, and then '24 was 147,980. We can run fiscal year '25, get the number for last year, put that in here. And then, again, we were estimating savings on the conservative side, so we put a $100,000 line in here. Obviously, if fiscal year '25 came back at 140,000 or higher, then obviously our savings would be
280,000.
larger.
Right.
It'll be larger as we implement this over time. So it was a conservative estimate there to put in that line.
So is this something that you can do, or does the board have to vote on this?
We'd have to vote on
We have to
that.
vote on this, right?
Right, it would be in yellow.
But it would be a gradual thing, because we'd have to advertise for more bus drivers.
Correct.
When we already advertise for bus drivers,
Right.
and usually have trouble
Getting
finding
bus
bus
drivers.
drivers that we need.
But as we invest in
one.
salary schedules and
There-
those positions, we may not.
Well,
So
ma'am, there again,
The hope would be to replace that, and we wouldn't have dual. We would
Driving-
have actual bus drivers.
Driving normal routes, we don't have a big problem with. 418 field trips, we do, and that doesn't include athletic events. So it begs the question, we're doing too much? I mean, I don't know. There's different ways to balance that equation. You can either get more of them or just do less stuff with what you got. I
So-
mean, I don't,
Follow-up question with that, 418 field trips is what you said. Is that because of PBIS? Because we started the
Ma'am, it's all of it. And-
Some
and-
of it,
That's not a regular route to and from school is considered a trip.
I
And-
get
and
that,
and
but it
some of
seems
that
like
is-
we did more with the PBIS on field trips this year than we have in the past, so that's why I bring that up.
And it also, the academy model, obviously, they go different places too, but everything that is built into
Oh, I
Trip
forgot about
Finder,
academy
yeah.
traveling.
So all that is baked in, but we have them all, so you could separate what is a
We have
field
it-
trip
we have it
versus.
broken down by school.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think that, Colonel Stanger, that you said at one of our recent meetings that the lowest paid employees have a 61% turnover rate.
It's
Am I
right at 60,
remembering
ma'am.
that?
Mhm.
About 60%. This,
That's across the board, really. Our hardest, hardest ones, it's really janitorial. That's a big one.
100, industry average, 150%. I
Mhm.
mean, there's
Yeah,
huge
it's
turnover.
big.
No.
Okay,
So we're about
ESL.
15
We'll go to
minutes
next
over
one.
where we planned to be, but where would you like to go from here, Madam President?
Let's finish, we only have
We didn't talk about
four more
I know,
buckets,
I
so
do wanna
let's,
come back to that, 'cause
let's
I-
do our,
So I've got the due employees that will go and look at the total number of individual. We've got that. The next number, obviously, the next item here is ESOL. And we'd have to go back and run those numbers again. I'm not sure we would be in a position that I would recommend cutting our ESOL teachers with a growing need of ESOL. And remember, of any student group, that's the student group we're seeing the most growth in.
Yes.
And that tells us a lot about the program working overall. I would not recommend that.
I wouldn't either.
We did reduce the nurses by one. I'm not sure that's an area that we would want to reduce. Is there anything you want out of that one?
no.
As it relates to security personnel, and Mr. Brown and I have talked about this, really the bigger picture here that I have listed that I do think we need to look into, and Mr. Brown and I have talked, is just overtime in general. Whether that's security or whether that's anybody else, the stipend sheets that we get, the last report I got, they were running, and finance is shaking their head. I mean, we ran a monthly, it was about $80,000 in 1 month that we were spending stipend sheets. So I saw that huge stack the other day, and I'm like, what are we doing with?
I wanna see it.
So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to break down all of overtime and look where it is and see where there can be some reductions and or setting limits on, correct.
Who getting the money? That's what I wanna know.
Well, there's,
I have a question, I'm sorry. So our security, instead of paying them hourly, could we not go to salary and change up their schedule, fluctuate their schedule as far
Be on the
as?
classified.
Not without a
classified.
significant increase in their pay. You could,
Yeah.
if you meet the pay threshold, then you could, but where we are on the salary schedule, you
It's
would
not.
not be able to eliminate overtime. Then I'd have to dive into the job classifications as well, because there's nuances, that are associated with Fair Labor Standards Act.
and I would
Someone
even,
was telling me we spend $1.7 million in security by the time we pay their benefits and license fees and possibly putting them through training. And so, I mean, that's finance, you'll have to tell me and show me the numbers. But
Well, when you
1.7 is a whole lot of money.
well, there's a lot,
And-
let's look at the staffing that it's got to
Yes,
it, you know.
they have a large staffing, but I don't know if that included the RNs in that number as well. But with that being said, again, my little fit from last week,
What is this?
I
nonsense, huh?
expect
Sure,
our security to step
Absolutely.
in
Absolutely.
within 12 seconds.
absolutely.
So that was, yeah, so,
No,
Ma'am.
Mr.
no,
Robinson, that
no
went towards you,
question.
honey, I love you.
Ma'am,
So, yeah,
when we said we're going to, look at that, essentially we're talking about operationalizing. So for instance, when you have a football team that's 0-10 and you have 100 people in the stands.
hey, no more, no more. We're turning it around, buddy.
I know, ma'am, I'm just using that as an example.
Okay, I got you.
We had a package for a standard football game.
Yeah, I feel you,
100
yes.
people in the stands
Yep.
versus 6,000 people in the stands is a different security environment.
Absolutely.
We weren't adjusting. We are adjusting now.
We'll definitely anticipate more
So-
people. Although 6,000 would be a fire code. Our stadium does not hold 6,000. although-
We're operationalizing those needs, that if you only have 100 people, you don't need the whole package as opposed to 7,000 or whatever.
I feel you. Okay, I hear you,
So,
yes.
just see, we're doing event planning before every,
So we'll break that down too. I mean,
We've
we'll
already
look at
made that
all the
change.
overtime, but then we'll also look at total cost and security.
Yeah, yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
P,
Ma'am,
I got a question in, before we still on the reducing staffing,
That's where we're going to next.
Yep.
huh?
That's what,
We're on-
that was
yeah,
next.
we're on
Why- that's federal government. Why would you be trying to, you can't use the federal government's money nowhere else before where it's spent. But it goes back to what Mr. Taylor said. Maybe we need to look at the enrollment, number of staff that we have to decide if we don't need it. Because you sitting right here, ALE, are you still over there? Okay, and if this is federal money, right, how we're paid?
so that's state money.
State and-
So it's a blend, but
Are we talking about ALE?
She's
Are we on the
ALE.
ALE
Yeah.
line?
The
She's
last,
talking about
the last
ALE.
thing on the bucket.
ALE money,
State.
ALE expenditures that we're looking at here is not federal money.
state.
It's
So
not,
can I
It is
have
not.
a point of clarity here? And I know I'm probably opening a whole can of worms that I don't need to. But,
oh,
so, and he knows what I'm gonna say. And it's because I've been going to all these finance. I said this to you the other night. So we still get a per pupil amount of funding for every student. And we
We do.
get additional $5,000 per
We do.
ALE student. But we're basing our budget just on the $5,000 we get per student. So I don't see how we could reduce staff because they're not getting, I know those students aren't there the whole time, but they're not getting their
Well, if you
per
take,
pupil
if you take
budget.
100% of the foundation funding for, let's just look at last year, the 130 students, you take all of the foundation funding for the 130, you take all of the $5,086 per student, the 2.5 exceeds 100% of the funding that we get for all those students.
Except
and
that's
that's
the
only for-
$5,000 we get per student. Where's
No.
this, where's the other part of the per pupil funding we're getting going if
No,
it's not
no,
part of
you-
ALE?
No, I'm saying you can even include that in the pot of revenue, and the 100% of the foundation funding and 100% of the ALE funding still does not cover the expenditures on that line. So, and we have expenditures other than salary and fringe. We have insurance on the property, we have light bill, gas bill, we have drivers, we have
Heating and cooling.
heating,
It's a large
cooling,
school.
insurance,
What is that expenditures, just salary?
salary and benefits only.
Okay.
So that's staffing only.
All right, well, I asked for this because we spend so much more out there than we collect. And at some point, when we're talking about finances, we need to talk about that. Is there a better model to get these kids what they need, or we're not spending such outrageous amounts of money for,
Yeah, and Ms. Temple, you bring up a good point. It's I've asked that question about looking at that. It's going to be a thing that Dr. Rogers is going to be tasked with. But at the time we did this was at 130. It's my understanding we're still at about 200 students that are going to be in ALE as we go into this school year. So that's a pretty significant, that's good from a funding aspect. But I do think we need to absolutely look at the delivery model because this ties into our graduation rate that we've got to do some work in. And I know Dr. Rogers, the expert kind of in this area, done a lot of work and already has some ideas that he's going to bring to the table. So I would like to just ask that let us dig in now that we've got our most recent numbers and come back to that. I have been concerned about the staffing it there from day one and our kids getting what they need. We just did implemented the Fusion program, which has been a good thing to get some students back. So I would just ask if we could bring some more stuff back to you.
I'd be fine with that. But this 500 savings, I think it'd be way more. I think we're easily $2 million a year, easily. That's raises. So I think it's something that really needs to be looked at. And I know that's not a popular thing to say, sorry, but it's a huge amount of money.
I'm asking a question, Dr. P.
Ma'am.
Well, I thought the ALE, they get more money than anybody.
We get
It's according to the number of students they get in their program. They're supposed
Additional.
to be self-sufficient
additional,
from
yes.
us. So why would you put this in here? I was asking, so I get a.
I asked for it, Miss Williams.
Huh?
I
Ms.
asked
Temple.
for it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's why he put it in
Oh,
there.
okay. Well, what I'm
Finger
saying, but
point.
it's self-sufficient.
But they're
That's why I
not
couldn't see it being
self-sufficient.
Put down here. It takes care of its own needs.
It does not. No, ma'am. Not even close. No, ma'am.
So let's dig
Wait
into that
minute.
a little bit.
Come on, wait, well, I guess if we knew the amount of money that was actually received,
We do.
we could
It's
better,
listed.
I wouldn't have to say that.
It's in here, Miss Williams.
I know, but
it's-
I'm not on that page.
Dorothy.
Okay, this isn't all the numbers, but based on the numbers he gave us, it cost us $1.7 million above and beyond what we got for that school this year. That's not including heating and air, and, I mean, it's just something that we need to look at it.
Yes, I agree. I
Employment.
wholeheartedly.
I
It's not,
remember, you do remember, we had a former superintendent who wanted to do the same thing you're talking about. We needed to look at that. So I'm agreeing with that, Mr. Dr. P. We need to look at it.
it's just a
'cause I
look,
need to see the
no
dollar
action.
amount.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we come back, can we circle back? We kind of skipped over assistant principals, I'm sorry. Mr. Henry was talking about deans, and I would like to loop in assistant principals with the dean of students. Just quick math with those numbers that you gave me, that's $1.6 million. It's 1,685,000 to be exact. So just talking about, we're putting out the new cell phone policy that's statewide. I think that's going to help, but I would like for us to keep a thumb on this, because if we need to decrease anything, like just the success story at 7th Street where she worked herself out of the job, or he, she, whoever, our wonderful individual, I want to be able to make sure we can make those quick decisions if that's what needs to happen throughout the next school year. I don't want to have to wait to 26, 27 if there is a,
You mean make a decision to cut the position of an assistant principal?
yes, if not needed. If
Yeah.
not needed, put that in big, bold,
Yeah.
highlighted words.
I would,
If not needed.
yeah, and if
Let me be
we,
louder.
and if we had every principal sitting in front of you and listened to them, and I would certainly not recommend eliminating any assistant principals at this time based upon the needs of our schools.
I'm interchanging dean and assistant principal in my statement. So I'm interchanging those two. And I know, I understand the data, I understand our demographics, I know what, I get it. I'm on these sites, I read those board reports. But again, 1.8, what was my number? $1.6 million. So I just want to make sure that we are keeping a pulse check on that at all times.
Sure.
That is my request.
Sure.
Dr. Paluska, I do agree with you 100% that I don't want to get rid of anybody where you got the principals according to the enrollments of the school.
Right.
That is packed the way it should be.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Because before it wasn't, because we had two principals at a school that didn't have a 100, well, for instance, at the academy, we only have 150, but we have dean of students, assistant principals, and a principal, and but the way you got it down there, I like that, follow the policies of the Arkansas School Board Association.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you very much.
You're welcome.
Bam.
Are all hearts clear?
So to review, out of bucket 3, what do you have on your list, please, sir? So I
Yeah,
can
sure.
cross-reference.
Yep.
I did my job.
Out of bucket 3, let me go back here. That was bucket, if I'm not mistaken, bucket 3 starts on 5, correct?
Yes.
Right, so special ed donors. So I have the deans, just the value of that, just to be able to look at that, and then I'll break that down. I also have overtime. Well, you brought up assistant principals, but we'll keep a thumb on that. Look at all of overtime pay. I have ALE staffing. I have to look at the number of individuals in dual employment and break that down. And I also have a further breakdown of security. Did I miss anything? Don't think there was an appetite for ESOL teachers or nurses or security, but just to look at outlay of, I think the big thing there is going to be overtime, period.
And we said to take, eliminate early morning off
Yes.
the table.
Yep, I do not have
And
that.
remove, yeah.
Did you have ALE on your list
Yes.
also? Okay.
Yep, to look at ALE staffing. We'll give you our current enrollment numbers.
I didn't hear it, so.
now.
Thank you.
And so, Madam President, just a point of clarity. So next week we have a regular board meeting.
Yes,
We also have Leadership Institute next week.
yes.
May we have just a little bit more time to work on all this, or would you like whatever we have as a portion of
No,
the
we need it
regular?
tomorrow. No, I'm just,
I'll be here tomorrow. But
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
what is?
I understand what he was asking. Yeah, we have leadership next week. So
If we have a portion of this, do you want it presented, a portion of whatever we can get done between now and next week? If we have it, I'll put it on there. If not, I don't want to add more confusion, because if we just talk about one thing that we're not talking about in its entirety of a bucket, we'll do whatever you ask us to do.
I don't want it because I don't want to be overwhelmed anyways. So as you complete,
Okay.
present.
Okay. We'll see what we can get done, and we'll put that on a portion. in
As you
small
complete
chunks.
it, present.
Yep.
But we know that leadership is next week, so it's not going to be a lot.
Yeah,
if that makes
and I
sense.
know they're trying to wrap up the end of the school year, the budget, and
Correct.
It's a lot. So,
but as you
you
complete,
got it. As we complete it,
present.
we'll bring it.
and then we're more or less okay. Check.
Yes, ma'am.
We got that one,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
then we go to the next one.
I got it.
It would be ideal to have everything taken care of by December so we can start the new budget
Yes.
and the new calendar come
Well,
January.
I would like to have it done earlier than that.
Well,
Is my goal
Actually, we want to have it done by September so we can make some decisions.
for this year.
For
While
this
by
year.
December we will have locked it
Exactly.
in for decisions for next year.
Exactly.
It'd be great to get contracts out like January. Nobody gets them out in January.
Well, that's all. That's on you. If you bring us the information, we'll
Well, we
make
gotta
the
get
decision.
calendar. Remember, the calendar's always the first one.
You bring us the information,
And
we
we
can
need
make
a-
the decisions.
Okay.
Is all hearts clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. This ends our workshop.